Paige, Todd, and Mikey, Mike's on the wire. Hanging with Jackie, this pod is on fire.
Twilight the Saga and Jacob so fine. Who needs a vampire with that wolfie behind?
Twilight, new moon.
We waited too long to do this pod.
Sparkly skin, monstrous grin.
And we're thirsty for this war.
Charlie's still fine, Mikey still whines.
RTP's having fun with New Moon.
Jackie's back, Jacob's a snack.
And we're thirsty for this war.
Honestly, I'm Team Bella.
I mean, seriously, girl, like, advocate for yourself.
Right?
Thank you for tuning in to Romancing the Pod. You had us at hello. I'm Paige Wesley.
I'm Mikey Randolph.
And I'm Todd Schlosser, and joining us today as we continue the Twilight Saga is Jackie Zebrowski.
Yay!
Oh my God, thank you guys so much for having me because in between the last time we talked about Twilight and this time, I have received a Twilight tattoo.
What? So, you got a Twilight
Jackie,
tattoo?
what?
Yeah. I got on my arm, I got a fork. I don't know if you can see
Oh
it.
my God.
Wait, that's what
It's a fork with a vampire face on it.
it's just got little tiny things.
Yeah, I got up while I'm trying to record a podcast. Did I get up to try and show you guys? Yes, I did. Sorry about that.
I appreciate the commitment.
Yes.
One time at work, we had an intern, and they're like, I got a Twilight tattoo. Do you want to see? And it was a full back tattoo of the cover of the first book.
No! Are you serious?
I feel like we actually talked about this the first episode.
Did we?
I think we did.
Oh my God,
Because I
that's
remember
crazy.
this story.
I just have flashbacks. I'm like, oh.
At least mine is just a little fork.
Yeah,
but
no,
it's the
it's-
size of a fork,
Yeah.
you know.
I kind of love that because, like, unless you tell somebody, they don't immediately clock it as a Twilight tattoo.
That's the whole thing. The little vampire face on the tattoo is very small.
Yes.
So then it just looks like I like to eat, which I do.
Yeah.
Forks have done a lot for me.
I want to get I want to get a Twin Peaks tattoo, but I just want it to be like Laura Palmer's hands so that people just be like, ooh, hipster bitch. And then I'm like, no, nerd bitch. It's all good.
Hell yeah.
These are the hands that carried me when you only saw one set of footprints. We
Yeah,
should
yeah,
say
exactly.
that we're doing New Moon today. I don't think we actually said that, so sorry. Yeah.
I have never seen it
Nor have I.
until this morning.
Yeah. Mikey, I watched it just now. Literally finished the movie 30 minutes before this started. I have no idea what happened. I don't remember anything.
It was a chore to get through.
It is.
I may pause this movie 30 times.
It is. I have, like I said, I've made this joke multiple times that this is the book where almost nothing happens.
Yeah.
That even in the book, there's just like chapters where it's like April, May.
May.
There's nothing on the pages because she's so devastated.
Yes. Yeah.
This is like a handbook of toxic relationships in a way that I wasn't expecting, where like every relationship is toxic. And I was like, oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not Team Edward or Jacob. It's Team Charlie. Like, you kind of got to, like,
Forever.
No, it's like team, like everyone needs a therapist. Like,
yes.
Team mental health over here.
yeah. I was like, ooh.
I hadn't finished the books the last time we talked, so now I delved into the whole world of like this person ruined a generation of young people thinking
Yes.
that they should be either Edward or Jacob because one is brutally controlling, one kisses her at some point, not in this movie, against her will. Her father is completely fine with it. Their relationships are so toxic.
yeah.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yes.
How many times do you want your daughter to wake up with a cold sweat screaming at night before you're like, maybe we should get you somebody to talk
I
to?
forgot about the scream nightmares in this movie.
I do love it. Instead of, hey, maybe let's get you someone to talk to, he's like, you got to go fucking live with your mom. I can't handle this. I got to get a good
Yeah.
night's sleep. I was like, damn, Dad.
Not only that, you gotta live with your mom, or you gotta start fucking my best friend's kid. Like
One or the
it's
other.
One of the two. One or the other. I saw this in theaters when it came out, and I had actually like conflated this one and the next one because I thought this one was the one that had the wolf telepathy in it, and that's actually I think the next one.
That's the next one.
Don't spoil
That's
it.
the next one.
Oh my God.
But I remember when that happened, my sister and I were in the theater and we scream laughed. We could not stop laughing at it. It was the funniest thing.
Neither of you prepared me for the amount of jorts I was supposed to see.
Oh, the
in
jorts
this
are a
film.
thing. It's like it's because they rip their clothes like the Hulk every time they turn into wolves.
But like they rip off, right? They don't rip, and like you don't see like wolves running around the forest with like half a jean short on, right? Although that would be adorable.
See, but in the books, though, they are nude a lot more often.
lot.
That's why I'm sad that there's not enough nudity in this movie.
Well, see, this is why you got to watch True Blood, because
Yeah.
when True Blood gets to werewolves, it's just nude Joe Manganiello for like 3 whole seasons, and it's great.
I was like, those boys love their Jinkos. What is happening with them?
Well, also in the book, if I remember correctly, they like stash jorts around the forest.
They do.
So that wherever they are, they have like a clothing stump that they can get new jorts.
Hey, Jacob, where's the closest jort stump?
Oh,
Yes.
I hate this.
And it was definitely Stephanie Meyer just explaining away that they would be Hulk naked all the time. And so, like, that's why.
I love that Hulk naked is a classification.
Yeah, at 16.
Yeah, he's supposed to be 16, so there's only so much you can really show.
Right, right.
On the screen.
Yeah.
And then they made her friend like really weird. The one who like throws up during the action movie. I was like, what's his deal?
He's just in love with her.
Yeah, he's in love with her. He's not really it's tricky because he's a friend, air quotes, but like even in the books, he literally only hangs out with her because he has a crush on her. That's always been the thing.
Yeah, but why did he throw up in an action movie? Like, what happened?
He claims he was sick ahead of time, but I think he's just sensitive.
Yeah, I think it's sensitive. I think he's not like the other boys, just like Bella's not like the other girls.
Yeah, he's different.
He probably would have respected her boundaries.
He could have respected her boundaries. It's very possible. Except, how disgusting was it when they both had the open palms? Did you guys do that in movie theaters?
Okay.
Like Jesus.
I have experienced this as an adult, which is probably more troubling.
You
someone
have?
did this to me in the backseat of a car as an adult.
Which is why I will go back to my statement. Holding hands is more intimate than kissing because you have more visual cues that you can kiss someone than hold their hands.
Also holding hands, like not everyone will see you kiss and it's only going to last a short amount of time. But if you're walking around holding hands, like people see that and it is a like they are together.
Yeah.
You know, at least in America, culturally, we do not hold hands unless it's like family or you are together.
Unless you're Bella, who's like, you can hold my hand, but it's going to mean something different to you. And I was like, that's the weirdest sentence you could tell a person.
Yep.
She's not wrong, though.
She's not wrong.
Yeah.
I would say there's definitely a clear case of he is not listening to her say no, but she is also using him for emotional vulnerability.
Completely.
And boundaries need to be drawn on both sides.
Been there.
But I will say at one point in this movie, she says that to him more or less. Like,
She says it a couple times, yeah.
I should not, this is selfish of me to do, but here's what I'm doing. And instead of, like, in that moment, instead of being like, well, okay, I think I can just be friends, or no, I can't just be friends with you. We should stop seeing each other. He then, I guess, just didn't realize that that's what she was saying.
Be weary of anyone who promises you they'll never hurt you because I always say, I'm going to try really hard not to intentionally hurt you.
Good for you.
I will definitely unintentionally hurt you.
But if you're a werewolf, you have to protect her.
Yeah, you have to protect her. I feel like watching this, no one should be Team Edward or Jacob, but I remembered reading the book and being like, I might be Team Jacob at this point.
Oh, I was totally Team Jacob at this point.
And then watching this movie, I was like, I think I'm Team Jacob. Like, he's not perfect, but he's also 16. So, like, you know, you give him some leeway, I guess.
Yeah, he's not a pedophile.
He's not 109 and super controlling.
I do think that, like, they have, like, the same amount of chemistry at least as Edward and Bella, which is to say they had no chemistry in this movie. But
They really did show in the movie how much, not that much of a relationship she and Edward had.
Right.
At this point, when she's like, but I need him, it was always him. Like, why? You've known him for like 2 months, girl.
Yeah.
You can find another one. I know he's 16, but at least this one's here and he does want to protect you.
Yeah, and you've known him since childhood. Like, that's a thing that the movies don't cover as much, but the books do, is that
Yeah.
she and Jacob have actually known each other since they were kids.
Yeah, because they were friends when she would come up to visit her dad, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I was Team Cliff.
Team Cliff.
She was like, "Oh, I hate that all of these men are in love with me." I was like, "Wow, this is definitely an interesting choice that they've made."
This is a fantasy that Smyers lived in. Oh, yes.
You guys remember all that time in high school when everyone wanted to sleep with you? That was all of our experiences, right? That's why we all got into comedy,
That's
right?
why I got into podcasting. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian that insults people because I was attractive in high school. Great.
I'm a therapist, basically the same thing.
Yeah, there you go.
And how did that roast make you feel?
Fine. I mean, hey, it's going to make me feel okay when they're flying me to Tokyo, right?
I know, right? That's cool. Anyway, do you guys want to jump into this movie so we can get to it scene by scene?
Yes.
Because there's a lot for some reason. There's a lot of runtime in this movie.
It's
Yeah.
so long.
Well, it's 2 hours of not much.
Of nothing happening.
Dude, the new moon reveal is so slow. Like when they're
Yes.
revealing the title of the movie at the very beginning, it takes like 15 seconds, which is such a long time.
Yes.
It drove me insane.
Yes.
I want to do one disclaimer before we jump in.
Okay.
I feel like this is my responsibility as a professional.
Great.
If you're in a relationship where someone threatens suicide or says they're going to commit suicide for you to get more attention or to them to get attention, that's unhealthy. If you're doing it, it's bad. If they're doing it, it's also bad. Seek help or seek an adult, please.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I was like, this is all very bad.
Oh, yeah.
And then she starts doing it to Edward. And I was like, no, girl.
Yeah.
Or his ghost or whatever. Was he really projecting?
No.
Okay. I was like,
Even in the book, it's just her. It's like it triggers something in her seeing it. He doesn't actually know.
So hang on. She is full blown hallucinating
Yes.
Edward throughout. Wow.
Yes.
I thought this was like part of his mind reading thing or
No.
whatever. Oh my
No,
God.
it's just his voice.
yeah, that's where I was, Todd. This makes it weirder for me.
Yeah, this is all very new to me.
Guys, when I tell you that, okay, so on the last episode, I said the craziness scale goes 1, 3, 2, 4. I'm wrong. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. They just get progressively crazier.
Okay.
And you are not prepared for 4 if you think this is weird.
This
Oh
is
my God.
insane.
And so we're not spoiling the fourth one, right? We're not talking it after
Oh,
this.
I'm fine with you spoiling it because they will forget by the time that we get there.
I remembered nothing from the first movie, Jackie.
Yeah.
When I was watching this, I was like, Forks, that's a weird name for a town. Fully not remembering that's where they
I was
were in
like,
the
oh,
first
yeah,
one.
Anna Kendrick.
Oh, yeah.
You don't remember the giant cactus?
No memory.
That's how we know she was from Arizona.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
That one. No, feel free to spoil stuff because I know there's some stuff in this that kind of lays foundation for 4 and some of the crazy shit in 4. We will have plenty to talk about by the time we get to 4. So spoil away.
All right. Hell yeah.
So this movie opens with a quote from Romeo and Juliet, which should be your first red flag.
Wait, I have another question before we start. Is this really what women who, because I had a lot of people who were into this, they wanted guys like this after this? This explains a lot about my past, if that's the truth.
I don't think it was like build enough hard enough that Edward is so controlling. I feel like
Yes.
I think it really glided over the, like, I think that it was what people wanted, even though they shouldn't have wanted it.
Yeah.
Because it was so glorified.
Well, I think this, and I think the same thing about 50 Shades and 365, which we've kind of done parts of or all of on this show.
Yeah.
I think it's the desire is to be wanted. And it is that idea of this is a fantasy that you probably shouldn't explore in real life, but the idea of what if somebody desired you that much, if you were that important.
Yeah, like a serial killer.
Yeah, like a serial killer. I think that's where a lot of this is. And I think for like a mousy teenage girl, this idea that you would be the center of people's attention is very alluring while not necessarily thinking of the practical applications of that. And I think that's what gets a lot of people for these books. I know for me, that was definitely probably a part of it. But then also, once they introduced Jacob and I was like, they're friends and they're funny and he's the buff one, like, why are we even talking to the vampire? Like, I don't understand.
I sort of feel like I was a fly in the wall in like Paige's therapist office while she was having a breakthrough just then.
Oh, no. Paige has known this for a long time. It's fine. But yeah, the quote from Romeo and Juliet, I think is pretty on the nose where like, that's another story where young people who don't understand what love actually is, unfortunately take their own lives. And that's basically what happens in this movie and the book, where it's presented as romantic, where it's like, I'm so in love with you, I can't live without you. And it's like, no, we should maybe talk about this a little bit. Like, soulmates are not real, and people are people with flaws, and you need to be able to kind of have your own happiness, because people can leave and other things like that, but this book is not going to go into it at all.
Am I expected to believe that, like, Edward did not get down from the time he was turned till now? Like,
yes.
Oh, really?
He's 109.
She's not like the other girls.
She's not like the other girls.
That's a dry spell, man.
Yeah, that is quite a dry spell.
Well, it's Stephenie Meyer is super Mormon, and so this introduces the ticking time clock of, like, they can't have sex till they're married, and he won't turn her till they're married. And it's like a big thing in the fourth book, because they won't go any further physically because he's afraid he'll hurt her.
I know exactly what you're talking about, Paige. I get it. Yeah.
I'm too in shape, so I also have to worry about such things.
Yeah. I'm like, tell me when.
Uh-huh. Can you sign this waiver?
They end up like edging kissing in this movie.
Do they
where it's
soak,
almost like
Paige? Are they soaking?
They may as well. And even by the time they do have sex, it's so underwhelming. It's just such a nothing that people waited for years.
It's his first time, Jackie.
Just like your real first time. I get
It's
it.
his first time.
He's been waiting 109 years.
Can you imagine? That would, no wonder he's so fucked up. He waited 109 years to have sex.
he's been pent up forever. That's why that bed breaks.
I would not go into his room.
The fourth book came out my sophomore year of college, because we went like at midnight to Barnes and Nobles to get it.
Oh my God.
Oh, and by then we were like, this is madness. And the movies had
course.
already started coming out and whatever. But we were all like, they're finally going to fuck in this book. And then we like got the book and read it, and we were like, fuck you, Stephenie Meyer. Because she did that bullshit of like, and the next morning, and you're like,
Yeah.
bitch, how dare you?
Barely gave you anything.
Yeah.
Well, she's a Mormon. Like, I grew up Mormon. That's not going to happen.
No.
I will say, at the end of this movie, when he says, marry me, I gasped at the same time Bella did. I was like, what?
I knew it was coming.
Her overacted gasp. I mean,
And I did think it was like, man, someone finally decided to act a little bit in this movie right at the end, and I appreciate that.
she was like,
Yeah. So we get a shot of Volterra where she's running through the red capes with no explanation. Then we immediately cut to a field of flowers where she's introducing Edward to her grandmother, but then it turns out it's not her grandmother. It's her, because this is a huge thing in the books where she's worried that she's going to get old and he's going to leave her.
I do love that she is just turning 18 and she's like, I'm so old.
Well, it's also this thing of like women being prized for their youth and her
Sure.
commodifying that in a way that she's just like, I'm not worth anything if I'm not young, supple, and 18.
That is sort of what this movie
Yeah.
says on some level, or at least that's definitely what she's thinking in this movie.
Yes. Although I don't think it's fair if your daughter is already nervous about that to be like, hey, I see some gray hairs in there. And her reaction to it, if that's how my daughter reacted by me saying she had gray hairs, though, I'd be like, also, let's talk about this. Why are you so nervous about gray hairs at 18 years old?
he never talks to her about stuff. He never even asked her what your nightmares are about. He's just like, you okay?
He's just like, stop screaming. I haven't slept in months.
Those night terrors, man, they're going to make me kick you out one day.
Your gray hairs are probably coming from your night terrors. You thought about that?
You should talk to your mom about those.
Yeah.
As a parent, if my teenager was worried that they would stop looking like a teenager for their boyfriend, I have way more questions. I'm like,
How old is your boyfriend?
yeah, how old is your boyfriend, and why does he want you to look underage? Anyway, we find out it is her birthday, and her dad gets her a camera and then a like photo book from her mom, and this is where he does make that gray hair joke. But she leaves for school And in her car, we hear just on the radio briefly about the 3 missing hikers, which will then be 5 missing hikers by later in the movie.
Yeah.
So she shows up at school. She takes pictures of her kind of group of friends that she never talks to. She literally only talks to them until Edward arrives, ever.
I know.
But at the same time, didn't you know somebody like that in high school? I definitely
100%.
did.
I know people like that now.
Yeah.
Well, and they were always the ones making out in the hallway. And then you could always tell when, like, whatever their significant other was sick, because then they're like, can I sit with you guys at lunch? And you're just like,
We all have those friends where like their name pops up in your phone. You're like, oh, I guess they broke up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So we also find out they have a Romeo and Juliet essay due. So apparently everyone's reading it. So I'm guessing that's where Bella got the idea for the shenanigans that happen through the rest of the movie.
When she woke up for her dream, she was like, she fell asleep reading Romeo and Juliet. Because I was like, oh, that's why she had a fucking crazy dream. She was reading Romeo and Juliet to
Right.
fall asleep. Yeah.
Also, who does Romeo and Juliet in senior year? Isn't that
I know-
definitely a freshman year
Oh,
book?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it is
absolutely.
freshman.
But Bella's not the smartest, so it sort of made sense to me that she's like in a remedial type class. Her career plan is to become a vampire, not to go to college.
That is true. She has no marketable skills.
Well, I mean, the only thing her vampire boyfriend does is go to high school. So, like, that's kind of weird as well. Like,
Yeah.
I would never want to be a vampire if it was you stay in high school forever.
No, that would be terrible.
Yeah. So he rolls up and everyone, literally her friends, like, know what's up and scatter. Or they're just like, well, nice talking to you. Bye. You know?
Well, and she does turn around, and then like Edward shows up in slow motion, like, you can tell by the way I use my walk. And then she
Just glowing.
Yeah, and then like they just go off into their own little world. And then Jacob shows up and like hits on her right in front of Edward. I don't know, it was weird.
Oh,
It was a
yeah.
weird vibe, this scene.
Well, when she's dating Edward, she like wasn't hanging out with Jacob at all, at least in the books and stuff.
Yeah.
So he hasn't seen her in a while. And so she, when she sees him for the first time in many, many months, is like, you've gotten huge. And that's like a thing in the book too, where it's like, hey, when did you turn into an Avenger? Like, what is happening?
She even says something like, you're not supposed to be taking anabolic steroids at your age or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know. She probably get away with it. I mean, he clearly is, so it's fine.
And also, is he like, he's almost 7 feet tall at the beginning of this, or is it after he's become a werewolf? Like after he's come into
He's
age?
never
tall.
7 feet tall in this movie.
He's like 6'7" in the books. Like,
In
What?
the books, he's big.
yeah,
He's,
they,
like,
they
really
don't include
big.
it in the movie ever.
Which is also why I'm attracted to him. Like, that's also why, like, I
Yeah.
want the big, huge, buff man
Yeah.
that wants to make me a motorcycle. Yeah, I want to fuck that one.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
He gonna make you a literal motorcycle or make you his motorcycle?
I'm
Whatever
good
he
either way.
wants.
I'm fine with both. This is also, and I know we talked about this last time, where parts of this are definitely kind of lifted from the Southern Vampire series that True Blood's based on.
Yeah.
And in True Blood, Joe Manganiello's like 6'5". And like he is what she describes Jacob as, and just it does not translate to film. I think because it's also maybe difficult to find people that big, but I think it's right before he turns, because I think he gets taller, where like they're kind of like he's taller than her initially, and then all of a sudden he's huge. Because it's like a plot point that she hasn't seen him since the first book, and then he's gigantic.
Anabolic steroids, man. He got huge, but his balls are small, I imagine. I don't know what happens. I mean, you see me, I clearly don't take steroids, so I have no idea.
No, I had a similar experience pre and post lockdown, but it wasn't muscles.
Right.
They're like, damn, you got huge. And I was like, I know, it's awful.
Did you know you could make your own mozzarella sticks at home? Well, clearly you do. But this is also where Edward jokes about being 109, and she's like, maybe I should not date creepy older men. And I was like, yes, run
Yeah,
away.
girl.
I know, that is actually good advice you're jokingly giving yourself.
Yeah.
You've got a 16-year-old friend, and that's like 2 years, but like, you know, it's not that bad. But this is also where they try to kiss, and it looks like they're actively trying not to kiss while kissing. It's the strangest.
They do look like two magnets who are physically opposed to one another being forced together by a director behind a camera. Yes.
Yeah. I watched it and I was like, how did we not know Kristen Stewart was in the closet? Like, how did we not? She doesn't want to kiss him. She clearly doesn't.
Are they still in a relationship in real life at this point?
Yes. Yeah, they're
Good
dating
Lord.
in real life at this point.
That actually makes a lot of sense to me, though.
Yeah, I'm like,
You can be a couple of beards.
I mean, you could. But she goes into school. They sit through class where they're watching a movie version of Romeo and Juliet.
I love that the teacher is mouthing along to the words as the movie is playing. I thought that was such a funny way to start the scene.
Yeah. Oh, and also Jacob gave her a dream catcher. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah.
It'll come up kind of later, maybe not. But Alice also gives her a gift to wear that night at their house. They're not super paying attention to Romeo and Juliet because, again, Bella's career decision is to be a vampire, and Edward has already taken this class like 15 times.
I do love that when like the teacher calls on him to like, who wants to recite the last stanza of whatever the fuck, Edward like does it and more, and he's like, oh, okay,
Yes.
I guess you were paying attention. That's on me. I'm sorry.
Eyes back on the screen, people.
Yeah.
But this is also where Edward's like, I mean, humans are lucky because they can kill themselves. And you're like, whoa.
I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I wasn't doing my job at this time.
Oh my God. Well, and he says he contemplated it when she got attacked and he wasn't sure if she would come back from it. That he was like, well, I can't live without her. So what would I do and how would I do it? And he's like telling her this. It's such a real troubling conversation.
Not good.
Yes, Smyers really fucked up by encouraging teenage suicide with
Yeah.
her books. Isn't
Yes.
that insane? That
Yeah.
so many young people reading this glorifying the idea of suicide?
And not just
It's
here. This
awful.
whole book
Yes.
and movie. And nobody got through the studio system to make the movie and was like, oh, wait.
Well, honestly, no one really looked in that a ton until 13 Reasons Why. They like didn't
That's
go to
true.
professionals until then.
That's true.
But okay, so vampires can only die by suicide by getting the Italians to rip their heads off?
Yeah, you got to go to the vamp pope, who I referred in my notes. I called him the red pope the whole time. But like, you got to go to him, and he can Lego pop your head off to death,
You can't get run over by a tank or anything?
or stake through the heart.
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
In Twilight world, that's basically decapitation is one of the only ways to kill a vampire.
Okay.
And pretty much the only way that can happen is either another like magical being, like a werewolf, or another vampire can pull your head off. And so in the battle in the fourth one, it's literally a whole bunch of people ripping each other's heads off.
It's great.
Oh, I cannot
It's
wait.
so fun.
Oh, this is amazing. I
But
can't
they're not
wait.
allowed to show any blood. So it's like they crumble into stone.
Okay, but like you could like saw your own head off, right? Like
No.
Yeah, like if Mikey and I were both vampires, I have a feeling that Mikey would just be chasing me around all the time, trying to convince me that Highlander's real, but we don't know because someone has to be the
there
first.
could be only one.
Yeah.
There could be only one.
So like, I just fully believe that Mikey would kill me. Like, I don't see any reason why I'd have to go to like the Red Pope to have him do it. As much as I like Michael Sheehan, I don't think he would need to be involved.
Well, and I don't remember if there's a thing where it's like knives and things can't pierce their skin. It's almost implied that they're kind of marble in a weird way.
Okay.
Because they do kind of crumble into stone when it happens. And like even in this movie, when they beat Edward up, his face kind of crackles.
Cracks.
It does. I noticed that. Yeah. I was like, cool, they used After Effects.
Well, I'll burn a fun fact right now. A good portion of this film was edited in the back seat of a car while one of the editors was on their commute to the office.
It shows.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
it does.
Yeah. Must have been a real slow commute in, because that's what this movie feels like.
Yeah, 2 hours and 7 minute commute there.
That's basically my commute.
I was like,
when
so
go
they
to
live
the
in LA.
office.
That makes sense. Yeah.
They live in
That
Los
checks
Angeles.
out.
Yeah. So we cut to their house, the Cullen house that night. They're
Yeah.
there for Bella's birthday. And we get a painting of the Volturi, including Carlisle. And this is where we get like an exposition dump of like who they are, what they do, why they do it. This, I think, is cribbed pretty clearly from Anne Rice and some
yeah.
of her interview with the vampire stuff.
Yeah.
But they're super powerful. They are very, very fancy, but they don't have any respect for human life, but they want to keep everyone's existence a secret. And this is the first time we see somebody decapitate a vampire and they turn to stone.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
But this is again where Edward is like, I can't even think about somebody hurting you. Like the only thing that can hurt me is losing you. And she's like, well, what about that other vampire that's after us? And he's like, we'll be ready. Like, don't even worry about her. It's fine. You're my only reason to stay alive, is what he tells her.
Jesus.
This is so unhealthy.
Classic love bombing, guys. That's what this is.
Yes.
He's like, it's been 109 years. Have sex with me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His special vampire power is narcissism.
Well, and it's not even have sex with me, please, because as you'll see when we get into the next one, she's like, I'm 18. Let's bone it out.
Have
and he's
sex
like,
with me.
Yeah, please have sex with me. And he's like, no.
No, and also what Smyers especially did in the book is she shamed, like she felt so much shame
Yes.
from wanting
course.
to have sex
Of
with
course
him
she
and
did.
so
Yes.
much shame about it. How dare you, Smyers, ruin all of these young people's brains?
Well, and not only shame about wanting it, but shame about him saying no and being like, what's wrong with me?
What's wrong with me?
Yeah, it's real
Oh
dark.
my God.
And honestly, she should have just maybe thrown one in Jacob because, like, I feel like that would have been more fun of a time.
Or get a toy. She's 18. Go get
She's
a sex
18.
toy.
Yeah.
You live near Seattle, it's fine.
Yeah, you won't be as obsessed anymore. You got it. She's got to get one out.
Yeah.
That's all. I think that it would provide a lot of clarity for her
Same.
brain of like, oh, if I could just nut one out by myself, I don't need to be with this 109-year-old that doesn't want to bang me.
Yeah.
I do love the thought that, like, if she just busted a nut, like, afterwards, she would be like, oh, shit, I don't want to be with either of these guys.
wanna
They're
be-
fucking
yeah,
terrible.
I want to go to college and get a journalism degree. What is happening?
I need to get more into STEM majors.
Well, it's not like Charlie would find a toy if she had one. He's hardly around. Like, she could just leave it out.
Edward would.
Yeah.
Edward shows up in her room when she's not in it and goes through her shit.
Yikes.
Charlie does go into her room anytime she screams.
That is true.
That is true. That
He's
is
a
true.
good father.
It'd be really funny if in this movie he'd be like, suddenly the nightmare stopped. I can't explain it. Ever since she went to Seattle with her friends, it's been fine.
It's been a different kind of night screams.
Yeah. So we cut to the actual birthday party, which is like a Pier 1 Imports amount of candles, plus like every rose they could find. And they all give her presents. And as she's opening one, she gets a paper cut that bleeds, which is like an intense paper cut.
Oh, yeah.
And Jasper goes off.
Like, loses his shit.
Just like if you bring cheesecake into my house.
Hold me back. No.
Jasper looks really bad in this movie. Like, they
Yes.
always really do Jasper ugly, and I think that that's not fair because I think in my brain, Jasper's really hot. And
Yeah.
so it makes me so, like, it hurts my feelings how ugly Jasper looks. And not the actor himself, just what they've done to
What
him.
they've
Oh, yeah.
done to
It's like,
him, yeah.
he looks like a 13-year-old Mozart. Like, he looks terrible in this movie.
Yeah, Jasper's like the brooding one of the like
Yes.
brothers and stuff. He's like the dark, like you wouldn't understand how I feel.
He's just got to get that concerto out.
Yeah. Who would you cast instead? Like modern day, it could be any. Who are you casting as Jasper?
In my brain, it was more of like a Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, okay.
Is what I saw because in the books, which I'm not supposed to be in love with him because he was a Confederate soldier.
That's
so
right,
You're
that's
really,
right,
You're
I
not
forgot about that,
supposed
yes.
to be in love with him.
Oh, cast what's his face? The guy who plays all the Confederate soldiers.
What guy who plays all the Confederate soldiers?
Ben, what's his face?
Well, now I'm so intrigued.
Hold on.
I'm putting in Ben, Confederate soldier.
Make sure to spell his last name, what's his face, correctly. It's F-A-Y-S-E at the end there.
Ben Marston.
I didn't realize James Marsden had a brother.
No, maybe that's not him.
But maybe cast that guy, not whoever this guy is.
Not whoever this guy is. Well, and they've got what's his face playing Emmett because Emmett's also supposed to be like huge and basically like the jock of the group.
Yes.
And anytime I see him, I can't help but think of the one time he was on 30 Rock while all this was popular. And he played Lutz's cousin, who like just sits next to them at the writer's room and eats whole marshmallows. It's really great and upsetting at the same time. But yeah, because I pictured kind of more of a Chris Hemsworth for that, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I could see that. Yeah, just someone. Well, then I'm also now you put Joe Manganiello in my head. But here's the thing: is also remembering that it must be difficult to cast, like especially with Taylor Lautner, someone that looks like they're 16 or 17, but also
Right.
has these builds. That's a really finite amount of actors you could really cast.
Ben Foster. Ben Foster.
Oh, Ben Foster. Oh, yeah.
I could see Ben
Okay,
Foster.
That could work.
You know, he plays a Confederate soldier in like so many movies.
But he would look
He's
older
probably
than
too
this
old.
dude does. Like,
Yeah.
he looks
Yeah,
fucking
he's
40
too old.
now.
But back then, he would have looked younger.
No, he was still too old. He was a full adult by the time these movies came out.
For sure,
Because
yeah.
we used to watch him on Disney Channel as like kids.
Yeah, he would be 29 in this
Yeah.
this year. Yeah,
Be
it
a
would be too
little-
old for that. But I like where your head's at.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. I'll burn a fun fact. Taylor Lautner was almost recast for this one because they were worried he wouldn't be able to get big enough.
Really?
And so he spent literally from like the day they wrapped the first one to the day they started this one, training to put on 26 pounds of muscle mass.
Jeez, I'm sure that was a healthy process.
Yeah.
He's not 16, but like he wasn't far off. Like he was like late teens, early 20s max. He's one of the youngest people in the cast. So that was a pretty big undertaking. And then he basically kept that muscle on for like the last 10, 15 years.
Good for him.
So they take Jasper away, but in trying to protect her from Jasper, he throws Bella through a glass table, which is like
Accidentally.
Yeah, it's an accident.
Air
Sure.
quotes.
well, and in the book she like cuts her hand, and in this movie she's got like her whole arm is messed up.
It's like
It's multiple
Yeah.
like cuts too.
he's pulling glass out of it in his office, wherever the dad takes her to sew her up.
Yeah, in his office in the house, because he's a doctor and he's like the local doctor for Forks. So when he like pieces out, they're like, I guess we just don't have a doctor now.
You know,
Yeah.
rural healthcare is dying off. It's very sad.
true.
This movie did foreshadow all of that.
But Carlisle was big in vampire government for a while, or?
I think he was like a crony. He like hung
Yeah.
out with them, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, was it just me or was there more, I feel like, connection and passion between Bella and Carlisle in that scene than
100%.
Bella and anyone else? And that when he's
Yes.
taking out, they just kept like looking up at each other. And
Yeah.
I'm rewatching it this time. I was like, man, why don't they start banging?
She's like holding his like ribs to like brace herself for the stitches. And I was like, hello.
As you do as a professional,
Right?
like hold my ribs.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
hold my
Hold my ribs.
Your doctors don't do that?
No.
I might need a new GP now that I think about it.
Well, and he tells her this whole thing of like, Edward believes that he's a damned soul and that's why he won't turn her, which is a thing in the book, that he's very much a self-hating vampire and that's why he won't turn her.
But when I go to help people, I'm like, hold my McRib, you know?
When they're in season,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Yes,
The rest of the time, it's a shamrock shake. So Edward takes her home and she's just like, hey, you don't have to, like, it's fine. I'm not scared of Jasper. It was an accident. Like, it's all good. And he's like, you should go inside. She's like, it's still my birthday. Like, can you kiss me? And again, it's like this painful, don't want to kiss you kiss.
He looks like he's mid shit as they're kissing. Like he
know.
looks uncomfortable.
Why do you want to stay with someone that makes you feel like that?
I don't know, especially when you've got a hot, muscular friend who probably would love to kiss you and have it not be painful and weird and wouldn't be cold.
No, it'd be warm, Paige. This is the song of Ice and Fire right here.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, because everything, even like in the books, they talk about how Edward is so cold and his touch
Yeah.
is so cold. His lips are so cold and marble like. And then there's Jacob, who's literally burning up with passion. Why is the choice difficult? When I was reading this book, I didn't understand what was so difficult about this choice. Choose
Yeah.
Jacob.
All day.
Yeah.
Later on, yes, I don't think she should choose either one.
Yeah, because later on he gets real petty.
Yes. Because he's 16.
I'm not 16, but I'm real petty, Jackie. I get real petty.
It's very much a, like, I can't believe you ever had feelings for Edward. And it's like, bro, like, come on. And then it's like Stephanie Myers didn't know what to do and was like, clearly Jacob is the choice. How do we wreck this forever?
No, both of them are like, I hurt you to protect you. And like, trust me, I know that move. That's not a good move.
You have not even approached the craziness, because all the way through book 3, it's will they, won't they, will they, won't they, will they, won't they, to the point where there's, and I don't remember if it's the beginning of book 4 or the end of book 3, she and Jacob have to like spend a night in a tent clutching each other, and it's like super hot
warmth,
and
yeah.
for warmth, and like nothing happens, but it's very much one of those like Edward is really resentful of it because he can keep her warm and Edward can't, and it's this like whole thing.
Edward's in the tent, isn't he?
Edward's in the tent. He's fucking watching it. Yes.
Such a cook.
Yeah.
So
And then I feel like she was like got to book 4 and was like, oh no, like the choice was always supposed to be Edward. What do I do? And was like, I know. I'll create this weird like piece of the wolf lore that's going to ruin this for everyone and make this the craziest book that's ever existed.
yes, I've heard about that.
Oh, you know about it?
Todd does not know about that.
I don't know.
think.
And I am like,
Let's keep him in the dark.
oh, how dare you?
Yeah. Let's
I
keep
heard
him in
about
the
that
dark.
at the time, and I was like, did none of y'all think this is weird?
Oh no. I remember reading the book and being like, what the fuck? And then being mad because like Jacob is not even an option anymore at that point. You're just like, he's just gone. He's just a weird side character.
Todd, you're begging to know. You fucking wish you knew.
Todd, you can Google it if you want to. I'm not gonna like keep you to this, but it is literally the most insane thing that's ever happened to pop culture.
What? And I missed it and still don't know about it. Fuck. Okay.
But like in this movie, he's like, I left you to protect you. And then Jacob's like, he does a bunch of unhealthy stuff. And he's like, I do it for you. And I'm like, I've walked away to protect someone before. And it's like, so I could go eat pizza or whatever. It's not a good look for the guy that does it.
No. So she goes to school the next day and she's taken a picture of Edward and taped it with scotch tape into her photo album. I was like, has girl never seen a scrapbook? Like, what is this?
Her mother's in Arizona. She does all the arts and crafty stuff.
Yeah, clearly.
She doesn't know what she's doing. She needs good guidance.
What we needed was that picture of Edward and then a picture of the cactus. Just like duct taped into the book.
I did think it was nuts that like she was at school. It's like very obvious that she is at school and he is like in her room going through her shit. Edward is in her room. I was like, what are you, why? Why would he be there? That made no sense to me.
I think he's like saying goodbye, air quotes, where he's already decided that he's like not, that he's going to leave her.
No. He was hoping to catch her in a lie that he could use in the breakup later this day.
Ooh,
that's what he was
I like
doing.
it.
Red flag, Bella. You dodged a bullet. Although I feel like she's going to get hit by that bullet later, but we'll get to that in the next movies.
When Jacob gives her the dream catcher, he does say, why does Jacob get to give you gifts and I don't? So like there's already a baseline of like, I don't trust him.
Mm-hmm.
So
you think that Edward wouldn't be so jealous.
Right, because he's a vampire.
He hasn't
And
had
he's like a
sex
narcissist.
in 100 years.
Yeah.
He's losing his fucking mind.
It's just a power thing.
Yeah.
It's not a sex thing.
It's definitely a power thing, though, Mike. You're actually right. I was making a joke.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. He's just like a terrible dude.
I mean, yeah, but that's like a vampire thing of like ownership over a human. Like that is a part of the mythos. Like it exists in True Blood too. Like
like familiars. Yeah. It definitely is. 100%.
Yeah. So she comes home from school and he's like, hey, take a walk with me, which has never ended well.
No,
Like,
I'll be honest with you. Towards the end of a relationship, if your boyfriend comes to you and says, hey, let's take a walk in the woods, you're not coming out of the woods. Don't do that.
Right.
Or in a relationship. They're either going to kill you or they're going to break up with you. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Anytime I need to talk to my staff, we go for a walk. And now I'm like rethinking that whole thing.
Rethink it.
They all think they're being fired, dude.
What you should do, Mikey, is like when they come to meet you outside for the walk, just be carrying a box that looks like it has their shit in it.
And they just like throw it up. Like, just kidding.
And then you open it, it's like, it's donuts. Like, I want pizza. So they go out into the woods and he's like, we gotta go. Carlisle looks too old. Like that's the like excuse he gives her is like people are gonna start to catch on that we're vampires. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they're just gonna be like, yo, what do you use on your skin? Like, I think you've got a good decade before people are like, maybe it's vampires.
I think they obviously know because those vampires look weird as fuck the whole time.
Yeah.
That's true.
They always look like they just tripped into like baby powder.
And they have cat
Yes.
eyes.
Oh, you mean the golden-eyed Cullens? Yeah, we probably should murder them with stakes.
It's because they don't eat people, they eat animals, and that's why their eyes are yellow.
Instead of red.
I
did notice the distinction, yeah.
Well, red eyes are also easy to notice, you know?
Oh, yeah, so is the
Yeah.
fucking glowing skin, which is insane
Right.
that the Red Pope is just in Italy, which is like a super sunny place.
Yeah. Well, especially Cinque Terre, which is like it's a hilltop village.
Yeah.
It's even closer to the sun. Or Volterra, as they call it in this film, but it is Cinque Terre. So he breaks up with her, and because he tells her, he's like, I don't want you to come. And she's like, you don't want me? And it's just like breaks her inside. And he's like, don't do anything reckless.
Don't fuck Jacob.
He doesn't say that, but he probably should.
I know he doesn't, but he did say don't do anything reckless. So like,
That's not reckless. That's the right decision.
Hey, do you really want to be with the dude whose voice, and every time you're trying something new or trying something out, it's his voice being like, don't do it, don't have a new experience, don't do anything. Like, that's the opposite of who I want to be in a relationship with. Don't tell me I'm not allowed to do anything. That makes me want to go out and do a bunch of reckless shit.
Yeah.
I thought he was a Force ghost. So like my mind is
I
blank.
also thought Force Ghost. I really did, Mikey.
Like in the water where they're like doing this number, I was like, just watching your girlfriend die.
Yep.
Nope. He has no clue. In fact, when he finds out about some of the stuff, like the motorcycles and stuff later, he's like mad at Jacob for allowing her to be reckless. It's like a whole thing.
Allowing her to be reckless. She's
reckless.
a human being.
This isn't even like casual misogyny. This is just straight up misogyny. Like that.
Yeah.
that is
Oh, yeah.
insane
100%.
to me.
Mad at the other man for not controlling her.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
It's kind of similar to like in 50 Shades where he's like, please don't leave the house. Someone's out there to kill you. Except it doesn't have the someone's out there to kill you part as obvious.
Just don't leave the house.
Yeah, it's just don't leave the house. Like later we find out about Victoria, but like he's not telling her that. Like 50 Shades is terrible and he's a horrible controlling monster. But in that movie, at least where he's like, can you, like, there's a gun in the house, can you please not, whatever, it makes sense. This is just him being like, don't have any fun or else.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
It'd be great if you wouldn't fuck Jacob. I feel like is the whole vibe that he's going for in this movie.
I feel like if he would have said that, she would have, just so she could have seen him, which is a whole extra level of troubling. But I would have watched the shit out of it.
Oh, man.
If this movie was just her and Jacob boning so she could force go see Edward, that would be troubling, Paige. I don't think I want to
The
see that
craziest
movie.
threesome. And Todd, when I tell you, that's not even close to as crazy as book 4 gets.
How is that possible?
Because in book 4, to keep it vague, people fall in love with people like, it's implied that someone falls in love with somebody that doesn't exist yet, and that's why they were close to somebody else. It's a long story, but...
Does Jacob end up fucking Bella and Edward's kid? Your lack of response is terrifying to me. That can't be it. Is that really it? I can't tell if you guys are fucking with me or not.
That's it. You guessed it.
Are you serious?
You'll never know. You'll never know, Todd. You'll never know.
Oh my
You're going to have to wait till book 4 to see if your hypothesis was correct.
He's so upset.
I hate this so much now.
You should be upset.
I hate this, Jackie. This is terrible.
I know. I'm not going to explain it to you because then we'll take 30 minutes.
No, don't. Yeah, just don't. I honestly think if you explained it to me, I would be more mad than I am now.
You will be.
Yes,
You
you'll
will
be even more mad.
Just let
you
it
will.
unfold. It's like the journey.
So
Yeah.
much more angry.
It's the friends you make along the way that mean the most.
The fact that this was written by a Mormon does not surprise me at all because they are like in that belief system that I grew up in and most of my family is still in. I apologize. I could see that predestined sort of love thing. Like that makes sense to me from a Mormon perspective, although I do think it's real fucking gross.
I mean, there's so many layers to the grossness too, because watching this one, I was like, oh shit, like I forgot how involved Jacob and Bella get, where they kind of date in this movie.
They do fully
really
date in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
She just won't kiss him, but they like cuddle and they snuggle up and they practically hold hands.
And
like,
it's not fair. And I feel like another thing that like I never was this person because again, it wasn't like they were lining up for me, but I always had a lot of male friends that in my brain I was like, oh, of course, I just wish they could fall in love with me. But
So
they weren't
much.
cuddling with me.
No.
They weren't
Yeah.
like giving me like Bella really leads him on in this and just straight up uses him, which, you know, we all have used people in our time period before, but like this poor 16-year-old who is just so yearning for her, and then she's just like cuddling up on him, but like
He's responding to what she is doing.
given.
Jackie, like the montage of building the motorcycle is nuts to me because it is him working away and her just like playing with a wrench in the background, like doing nothing, watching him build her motorcycle. I was like, this is nuts. I would not stand for this.
Well, and I think for me, it's them cuddling in the car. That's the one that I'm like, this is kind of point of no return to a degree. And if Edward had not come back and if Alice had not come back, I think like if Edward truly stayed away, within days, I think they would have been making out.
Yeah.
Like, if not
Yes.
later
Yeah.
that night,
Yeah.
you know?
He's got so many Hawaiian rolls.
He does have all the Hawaiian rolls. I've never said, you're sort of beautiful to like one of my friends that's a girl. Like I've never said that to someone who was just
I've
a
said
friend.
that. We covered it last week.
We did, yeah.
The key is the sort of.
Keep them
It
guessing.
gives you the wiggle room to get out of there. You know what I'm
It
saying?
gives you an out.
Does
Yeah.
she like you? Did you not? You gotta have the sort of in there.
Okay.
See, that's the kind of thing where, like, when guys hit on me and I'm like, no, thank you. And they're like, well, you're a fat bitch anyway. And
Oh,
you're just
yeah.
like, whoa, hey.
Whoa,
You
don't
did
even do
hit
that.
on me, though.
Well, I prefer to just say sorta and then not do that stuff. That seems
Yeah.
much worse.
By the way, I cut that section out of the episode. It was bodies, actually, and sent it to Andrea, and she was like, yeah, you can leave that in.
I know. She DM'd me
Oh,
about
did
it
she?
today.
Sorry,
Yeah.
okay.
Anyway, so he leaves. She's super upset and is like begging him not to leave her and basically just like passes out in the forest and takes a sad nap. Just like gone until
She lays down in the forest like someone who's never heard of mosquitoes.
I know.
Like, I would never do that. Although I don't know if like in that
The
area of the
Northwest?
country,
Yeah.
if they have
It's
like
cold.
that kind of stuff. Yeah. But like in the South, you can't do that.
In the book, though, she literally does. She's like, I'm just gonna go lay down in the forest until he comes back or until I die.
Yes.
Like that's just like that was her plan.
Are you
Talking about
serious?
career plan as a vampire. Her plan for this was to just lay in the forest until he either came back or she died. That was it. That was her plan.
That is like someone who gets D's in high school saying, I'm applying to Harvard and I have no backups.
Yes.
No. You have a backup. It's go into the forest and die.
Yeah.
She doesn't think he's serious. She thinks he's like testing her. Like she's really upset about it, but she's like, he would never leave. And so she just kind of like lays down and waits until we will find out it's a wolf, but it's Sam carries her home.
Key aspect of communication is talking to the other person.
Whoa. Wait.
Wait,
whoa.
hang
Whoa.
on.
Hey,
How is
what?
that even possible?
I don't know.
If you do things and expect someone else to know, they are not going to know unless they see you or you tell them.
Right.
Mental health tip of the week.
There you go. There you go.
Mikey really loves giving out his tips of the week.
Yeah, it's why I've stopped even in my own relationship trying to clean something and expecting my husband to notice if I cleaned it. He walks in the house, I go, I cleaned that. And he goes, thank you. And then it's done. I don't have to wait for it anymore.
great.
Oh my God, that sounds like a super healthy and awesome relationship.
That's what Jake does that to me. Like whenever I go out of town, he's like, here's what I cleaned, here's where I put stuff so that you know where it is. And I'm like, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we enter the chair spinning montage of depression.
Oh, wait. I have something to say before we jump into the green screen chair stuff. When Sam walks out of the woods, at
Yes.
least shirtless, but I assume possibly
I thought it was Jacob
naked.
initially, but no,
Sure.
he has shorts on
Well,
from the
okay,
stump.
so he's walking out with his stump jorts on, Paige, as we said earlier.
Yes.
And he hands this unconscious woman that he's carrying out of the woods to a police officer.
Right.
And then they
dad.
leave and take her away. They don't have any questions for the shirtless dude who's carrying an unconscious woman out of the woods. I would have so many questions for that man.
Don't worry about it.
Part of the search party. And here's the weird thing. So Charlie is really good friends with Jacob's dad, Billy, but also Harry Clearwater, who we see in this movie. So like all of Charlie's friends are part of the tribe, and which again, we didn't cover this on the first one, but a tribe that was never compensated for the use of their image, names, all the things, filming on their reservation, all of it. Like the film really treated them badly. But all of Charlie's friends are part of the tribe. They all know about the wolves. So they're actively, we see them kind of hiding it from him in this movie, but in the book, he's clueless until like book 4.
Honestly, if I was him, I'd be like, all of these guys have so many abs. And if they want to walk around shirtless,
I
they
get
work
it.
hard for that.
Then
I
have
get it.
abs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go search the woods, take the shirt off. I'm like, yeah, that's just how they do it. They
Look
work
at 'em
out a lot.
go.
Yeah.
Have fun.
When I had abs, I was shirtless way more than I am now.
When was that? Is that going to happen in the future?
When was that? When was that?
When I was touring,
Oh, but then you had the long hair and the leather pants, though.
Yeah.
that was only at the very beginning. By the time we were like on the
Canceling
road,
it out.
by the time we were like on the road with like Bret Michaels and stuff, like I had cut my hair short, but I still wore leather pants. That stayed with me till the end.
So as we're going through the chair spinning October, November, December, January, etc., she's also emailing Alice and just getting message undeliverable, but she keeps doing it.
It's wild.
Keep sending it.
Yeah.
I was glad that they chose to use her emails to Alice as like the voiceover instead of like her emails to Edward, because I'm sure she sent those, but I bet those were way worse.
Okay, there's a part of me that's like, at the time, if someone had thought to write a sketch about this at the time, they would contrast the emails.
Yes.
And the ones to Edward would be like, your marble cold dick or whatever. Like, just something completely.
I emailed in that. I will tell a vulnerable story.
Oh no.
Okay. I emailed someone I used to be with a while, but it wasn't undeliverable. They got it. They just never wrote back. They would just like reply verbally.
Yeah, I didn't know what to say. It was a weird message, man.
But I can't imagine keep doing it as they bounce back. I would be like,
You're really just talking to Google's like server at that point, and it's like, what is happening?
Cut to somebody at Google being like, this girl is so sad. Should I reply?
Google actually does have that where like you can. I have a friend who works with that. Well, probably not now because they did all their layoffs, but like they would like you could they like check on people's health on Google forums and stuff. They're like, hey, it sounds like you're going through a lot because of these YouTube videos you uploaded. Are you okay?
Whoa.
That's honestly sort of great.
Yeah. Too bad they weren't here to help Bella because she is just having scream nightmares.
Oh, yeah.
And sitting alone at lunch with unwashed hair and then scream nightmaring again and then sending undeliverable emails. And Charlie's like, you seem sad.
You know, high school.
He doesn't know how to be a dad. He hasn't been around a teenage girl.
I do love that he very much is like, hey, we've got to send you to your mother. Like, because I can't handle this.
Yeah. I don't know what this whole undeliverable emails, crying and screaming is, but maybe your mom will.
I just need you to get off AOL at night because I've got to do some stuff on there. It's also been 107 years for me.
Well, the more I thought about it in this movie, because he always, anytime she screams, he like comes in there and I'm like, how mad would I be after a while if I'm like, I haven't slept through the night in 4 months, Bella? Like,
there's one shot where he is like sleeping on his own couch.
Yes.
Which I assume is to get further away from her room.
From the sound to
Yeah.
just let her scream. Yeah.
Some people, I'm not one of them, fall asleep on their couch.
I do. I'm one of those people.
My couch is for getting high and playing video games.
As couches should be.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's what I use mine for. Although I have fallen asleep while being high and playing Ghost of Tsushima. So like it happens sometimes.
That makes sense. Do you wake up and he's just like waiting with the sword?
Oh, I've woken up dead so many times. Because like the controller will vibrate. So like I will be like doing a standoff and I'll be like, and then just right out. Like, oh shit, I'm dead. Okay, fuck, I'll just restart. It's fine.
But he threatens to send her to her mom, who, if you recall from the first film, married a minor league baseball player for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimps.
Jacksonville
and that's
Jumbo
why she
Shrimp.
lives in Florida.
Yes.
And she's like, no, don't send me to mom. I definitely am going shopping with a friend tomorrow.
I love when she calls Anna Kendrick's character and she's like, hey, it's Bella. No, Bella Swan. Like
Yes,
it's
yeah.
clear they're friends. She's like, yeah, we're going shopping tomorrow. Doesn't really know her all that well.
Well, in the book, she does. They're not close, though, because there's like a weird rivalry where the guy that likes Bella, Anna Kendrick's character likes that guy. And so it's this weird, like...
I've got great news for Anna Kendrick because Bella does not have any interest in that marshmallow of a man, as Jacob calls him in this movie, which I was like, what's wrong with marshmallows? I like marshmallows.
I do think it's really funny by the time you get to the fourth one, where Anna Kendrick's literally only in it for like a minute at the wedding.
Well, yeah, because she was a star and she was like, no, I'm not going to do this.
Yes, but by then she's crazy famous and it's really funny.
Yeah.
Where she's just like, oh, nice dress. And then that's it. Anyway, we cut to them going to see a zombie movie and she's like, clearly doesn't understand how great they are.
What is the name of the movie? Isn't it like Punch
in the
Him
face.
Hard?
Punch in the head.
Face punch.
That's the movie later. And that action movie, Face Punch, was written by AI, and you cannot convince me otherwise. But that's not the movie they're seeing here. Anna Kendrick and her go to see a zombie film.
That's right. That's right.
Anna Kendrick just like does not understand horror. She's obviously not a horror virgin listener because then she would have got it, Paige.
But I do think the romance movie they talk about later, where love spelled backwards is love, like, I don't know who had just placeholders for the fake titles in the script and then forgot to make names up.
That one is begging for we'll put it down and we'll give it a second pass later, and they never gave it a second pass. And on the day they were like, fuck it.
Face punch? Really?
No, see, I think face punch fits because it reminds me of like face off, and I'll let face punch slide. Love spelled backwards is love? No.
Oh, see, that was my favorite of the fake ones. I was like, that's really funny.
Well, there were only 2, so.
Anyway, they're walking back from the movie theater, and she sees the bikers that attacked her, or she thinks are the same. They are different. That attacked her in the first film where Edward rescued her the last time she and this girl went shopping. But Anna Kendrick is like, oh, creepy, scary bikers, let's go home. And she's just like, no, I think I know those guys, and just walks away and gets on one of their bikes.
There is no way I would ever let my friend walk away from that. I'd be like, I'd grab her and be like, no, we're going to go.
We're going home.
No, you're not going to go over there.
I drove, so,
It's crazy, though, because she walks towards the bike, and then Ghost Edward pops up, and then she walks away like 3 steps, and then turns around and walks back. It was such a weird choice.
Well, this is why I thought it was real, because she starts talking to him.
Yes, she does start talking to Ghost
and
Edward.
he talks back.
Which I guess is just her in her own mind.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It is. Which is, when you watch the bikers, they're like, what's wrong? And they're like, who cares? She's cute. Let's go. And they just like take off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was crazy that like she makes him stop on the bike and they like squeal out. And then it just cuts to her catching back up with Anna Kendrick, I guess having walked from where the motorcycle stops.
See, I thought this was like the female equivalent of like losing your buddy at a strip club.
No, we don't lose our buddies. Like that. No. That's a thing we don't do for safety.
I just let guys go. I'm just like, if that's your choice, man, I'm going back to the hotel.
That's your choice. No, we stick with safety in numbers.
Yeah.
Because of the trauma that we've all experienced.
See, I'll never understand. But yeah.
When we did Crazy Stupid Love last week, and you were like, who goes alone to a bar? And I was like, never me.
Yeah.
Like, I have never. It's not safe. You can't do it.
There's me just drinking at the end of the bar, like, no one goes alone or just leaves their buddies' places? Like, literally, if my buddy was like, I'm going to go get on this motorcycle, drive away, I'd be like, I'm never going out with this dude again. I'm
I've carried home too many people who've been roofied to ever leave somebody alone ever.
Yeah.
And it's gross, by the way. They barf a lot. It's real nasty. Don't roofie people.
Guys are the worst.
Yeah. Anyway, this is her testing the waters of like, okay, when I do something dangerous, he shows up. So like, that's a way for me to see him. So then she just buys motorcycles. Where she got the money, we don't know. It's not important. She saves them from the scrap pile, I guess.
I thought she saved them from the junkyard. Like, I thought possibly she got them free. You know, like, friend of her dad owns a junkyard, and he's just like, yeah, have them. We're not going to use them.
I don't know.
Like, that kind of thing. And then she was like, you know who I can emotionally manipulate into fixing up these motorcycles for me? Oh, that's right. That 16-year-old dude who used to be, like, scrawny, but now is super jacked.
Mm-hmm.
Which we call puberty, usually.
Yeah. Well, but it happens in the matter of like a couple weeks in the book, which is why she's like, what? Like, and that's not a red flag for her to be like, what? This isn't possible.
I thought growth spurts just made you taller, not like buffer.
Bigger, brawnier.
Yeah. So she talks him into fixing the bikes, right?
Yeah.
And he picks one up off the truck without any help and just puts it down, which should have, again, been the first clue of like, are you a super soldier? Like, what happened? Like...
Those things probably weigh 300 pounds. Like, you could not lift them like that. I mean, there are men who can, like, lift that weight, but you wouldn't be able to lift it like that. That's insane.
Yes.
I could have done a one-handed or whatever.
Sure, yeah, okay.
You're just like Jacob.
To work out, I curl my motorcycles when I'm working out my arms. It's like my bicep day or whatever.
I don't know if you know, but I'm like 8'2", so, like, it's not a big deal at all.
On my dating profile, 9'4", you know.
In the pants.
So we get a montage of them working on the bikes where she's like ordering pizza, playing with wrenches, and they have him in like half the clothes they have him in are definitely designed to hide how buff he is. So you don't see it right away. But then they put him in a couple button down shirts and I'm like, no. Button down shirts always show off who is buff. And so he's like and you're just like, nice arms. Like, yes.
Got it.
Even though he's 16, in my brain, I kept, as I was reading it, I was like, he's 24. He's 24. He's not 16. He's 24, which is still too young for me, but also like very much an acceptable age to thirst over, because in my brain, he's not 16. He's 24.
He's 24, of course. I just, now whenever I read it or read anything about it, I just picture Joe Manganiello.
Yeah.
From True Blood. And I'm like, he's 34. It's fine. But they have this conversation of like, who's older and is it weird that there's an age gap, which again is a weird thing to have a conversation about if you're not interested in somebody.
Mm-hmm. She's definitely entertaining it.
Yeah. Kind of weird that she's picking on his age and not Edward's.
I mean, she does a little bit at the beginning, but it's just kind of like, that's hot, my old cold marble man. Like, you know.
None of those things make me want to fuck him. Old, cold marble. I don't want any of that.
But like tall, hot muscles, I'm like, yes.
You've never seen the Statue of David and been like, yo, that statue can get it.
I have seen the Statue of David, and it's a very good statue, but I feel like I need a little more warmth and softness going on. Mm-hmm. Like, I want to like cuddle and hug you.
Yeah.
Not like get a concussion if I try to go down on you.
Did you hear that Paige broke her nose? Oh, high five David for me.
Got one of those new marble sleeves. It was great.
Then Jasper comes in the room and wants to kill you. That's just so weird.
Because the nosebleed. So this is where we meet Quill and Embry, which in the book they've kind of been around more, and I think they're in the first movie for like 2 seconds where they're at the beach. But these are Jacob's friends, and in the book you have a lot more of like they suddenly disappear and join the other group, and like Jacob doesn't fully know what's going on, and so it kind of is your clue as the reader of like, red flags, I think they might be werewolves.
Yeah, because they join the quote-unquote cult.
Which is not a cult. He's just like, hey, you guys might turn into wolves. I know it's scary and you're young. You don't understand what's going on with your bodies, but like, I'm going to help you through it.
Yeah, I've seen Teen Wolf. I know what happens. I've seen it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. But we cut to her writing to Alice, because now she's still sending those undeliverable emails, but it's just like a diary where she's just like, Jacob makes me feel better and alive, which is a weird thing to write to the sister of your ex-boyfriend,
Your ex.
But sure.
Unless he's dead. But I guess he technically is.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, all of that does actually check out. So maybe she was in the right, although it's undeliverable, so it doesn't matter. None of this shit goes through.
Yeah.
Like, Alice has no idea these emails are being sent.
Most of the lines in this movie are undeliverable.
Yep.
Just like every time Mikey sends out a message of love, it comes back undeliverable.
Love spell backwards love, man.
Yeah.
I finally understand that movie.
Love spelled backwards is evolve.
Evol.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
I'm sure they could not use because it was the name of a Christopher Titus special. So like, I think they probably wanted that and then couldn't use it. I don't know.
This is not the first thing Christopher Titus messed up.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, we do get a brief cut over to her talking to Jacob and him being like, what's your deal with age? How old was Edward? And she like, and like doesn't tell him.
Yeah, because he was like alive when Blackbeard was alive. Like you wouldn't say anything about that.
Yeah. Fun fact. He's been alive since children could work in factories.
And they liked to work in the factories.
They did.
They had the freedom to work in that factory, guys.
They got one free rat-based hot dog a day, and they liked it.
Oh, my rat dog has a little bit of tail. My favorite. Oh, gross.
Protein's protein, man.
That's what I tell her every time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you.
So Charlie's like, I thought this was starting, the dream catcher was starting to work because you would stop screaming in the middle of the night and I could finally get a good night's sleep. And he's like, it seems like hanging out with Jacob helps. So could you like keep doing that?
Oh, dads. You know what? Dads have it rough.
Yeah.
Especially with teen girls, man. They don't fucking know.
They don't know. I took my dad to a psychedelic art installation yesterday. So sometimes your daughter doesn't know either.
Did he like it?
He loved it. He had a great time.
That's great.
He was like, I love Meow Wolf now. And I was like, okay. So Charlie at this point also says, sometimes you need to learn to love what's good for you. which is oddly the best advice in this movie. It's still not perfect, but
I think he says it to be like, maybe you should date Jacob, and Jacob's not good for her either.
that is what he's 100% saying.
No, I know, but Jacob's not good for her either.
He doesn't know that yet.
I feel like without Edward, Jacob is not as bad as you would think.
Yeah, did you know all of Jacob's abusive behavior is because of Edward, Todd?
A lot of it starts because of Edward. Like in the books, at least.
I can't believe, Paige, you are a Jacob apologist. I see what's happening right now. Stop picturing Joe Manganiello.
Todd, Jacob wouldn't even abuse her if it wasn't Edward coming around and ruining things.
Because as we see in this and what happens in the book, they're basically friends and she is participating as if they are dating for most of the time. And it's not literally until Edward kind of comes back in the picture that he becomes like a petty asshole. Because, like, if Edward had never come back, I think they would have just continued dating and it would have been kind of normal.
Yes, you're 100% right, Paige. I am with you.
Yeah.
I'm also a Jacob apologist.
Thank you.
I am on
Yes.
your side 100%. Yes. But he is, a little, he gets, but at the end of the day, he's 16.
Yeah, he's 16.
What kind of decisions were you making when you were 16? They
Horrible
weren't good.
ones. Horrible
Well,
ones.
he's currently making the decision to fall in love with her daughter. So, he's making terrible
he
decisions,
doesn't even know
too.
that yet.
Yeah, come on. It's her eggs. Please. It's just her eggs.
Is he just like, I like the smell of one of those? Like, how does he know? Like, I don't understand how any of this works. I can't.
Oh, you're going to find out someday.
You're
God
gonna
damn it.
find out in book 4.
Son of a bitch. Okay.
And we're gonna have to schedule extra time to just be like, okay, we have to unpack how this works.
I'm curious how they do this on screen.
Yeah, me too.
Now.
Oh, you haven't seen 4?
I didn't see this one. I fell asleep like 20 minutes into this, like back in the day when I was dating someone who wanted to watch this, and then I never watched it again.
That's fair.
Yeah, you got what you needed out of the evening.
A nap, yeah.
So we cut to Jacob and Bella take the bikes out for the first time. And this is where they stop because they see Sam and his group cliff diving. And then they move on to go do the bikes. She takes off because she sees Edward. And he's like, this is dangerous. Don't do it.
He's like, no, don't ride the motorcycle.
Like the ghost of Christmas past.
You will be visited by 3 abusive boyfriends. Abusive boyfriends of the past, present, and future.
And she doesn't have a helmet or anything either. So like,
No.
Okay, Grandma.
Does Washington State have a helmet law? I don't know.
helmets are you should just wear them. Your head is important.
I agree. I had a motorcycle for a long time. I had a helmet that whole time. Yeah.
And a motorcycle built by a 16-year-old? Put a fucking helmet on.
Well, and I mean, honestly, she gets haunted off of the bike into falling off of it, rolling into a rock. She should have worn a helmet. Although this is exactly what happened to me the first time I rode a motorcycle.
Same. Yeah. In the woods too, oddly, was where
Mine was at a back house party I was at in college. It ended up being a really good night, but not because of the motorcycle.
Whoa.
Was it the head injury? Did the head injury make it a good night?
No, other people have told me it was a good night. I don't remember it so much because of the aforementioned head injury.
You just woke up the next morning and you're just like, did I have a good time? And they're like, oh man, you did 4 keg stands until you started bleeding again. And then,
And profusely vomiting everywhere.
Yeah,
but
everywhere.
That's fine.
And slurring, but we just thought you were drunk. We didn't care. You were kind of a pain, so we left you there because that's how men treat their friends, apparently.
It really is.
They actually did leave me there. Okay. A lot of what you said is true. I don't drink, so I didn't have any alcohol that night. But yeah, my friends did leave me there. I mean, yeah.
They did leave me.
I woke up on that person's couch and we went to their house.
I wasn't joking. We just leave people behind.
I didn't really know them all that well.
It's crazy. Women really don't do that. I'll hunt down every single one of the friends I came with, at least to tell them I'm leaving. At least to be like, hey, I'm going to go. Do you want to come with me or do you want to stay?
Guys at the end of the night will just pour out a beer and be like, he was a good guy. Maybe we'll come back. We'll see.
We also, I've definitely done this one too, of a girl is canoodling with a dude and just kind of getting them aside for a second and being like, A, are you sober enough to make decisions right now? And B, do you actually want to be with this dude or did he make you uncomfortable and you need a way out and you didn't have
Because
one?
I'll get you out of here. I'll make up an excuse. We'll get out of here.
Yeah. One of my sorority sisters, a guy tried to grab me by the wrist one time and she yelled pop off I think it was Bad Girls Club with that girl with the pans into his face until he ran away. And then she's like, come on, bitch, let's go to IHOP. And we did, and it was great.
I need that kind of friend in my life.
It's great. Being a woman is wonderful.
We have to avoid the trauma. We can't leave anyone anywhere. It's so wonderful.
Safety in numbers. It's crazy.
Guys will come out of the bathroom and be like, oh, I guess they left me.
My head's still bleeding. I'm going to lay down on this couch. Hope I can ride out this concussion. Bye.
Oh, God. Anyway, Jacob comes over and is like, oh, my God, you are bleeding profusely from the head, and immediately takes his shirt off to, like, dab the blood.
That's the first thing he does. He can't wait to take his shirt off.
When I saw this in the theater cheered when his shirt came off.
I would die if someone did that for me. If I was bleeding and someone took off their shirt, no matter what they looked like, to dab the blood away, I think I would be like, okay, let's have sex. We're going to have sex right now. No matter
Right here
what you
in the
look
woods
like.
on top of these bikes.
I'm developing some new moves right now.
Yeah.
I'm over here taking notes.
Don't
like-
make her bleed, though, or else
Right.
that's
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah.
No. You gotta wait for like a bleeding opportunity.
Yeah, don't like make her motorcycle shitty on purpose so it definitely crashes.
I'll just leave stuff around the house so she can trip, you know?
Yeah, or like shards
fake
of glass. Yeah.
Yeah. Just Legos. So many Legos.
So many Legos and marbles.
Thumbtack. It's like Jackass 4, where they had the room with the snake, and then they go into the dark room and they trip over all the mouse traps into the cast iron pans. Yeah.
Mikey is like talking to his girlfriend that doesn't exist, but like, come over, hang out, and then it turns into like the Home Alone house as she's walking through it.
I love that you had to say that doesn't exist. I love that you couldn't even give him. Maybe he's got a girlfriend. That girlfriend, the one that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of unnecessarily mean at this point.
Well, I don't know what's going on in your social life outside of like.
I don't have anyone to cut to take my shirt off for, no. But I mean,
I don't want to get you in trouble by saying you have a girlfriend, you know?
what about if it was like, I'm not going to go there, but.
Mikey,
What?
We're about to get to the movie theater in just a scene or two, and we'll get him back. It's all
Oh,
good.
shit. I
Okay,
wrote this in
yeah.
my notes too. You
Yeah.
bastards. I fucking
Yeah.
hate you. I hate it so. Okay.
Anyway.
Right. I'll take my lashes. It's
Todd,
fine.
next time like Natalie needs like feminine products, just take your shirt off and hand it to her. It's hot.
I would.
I would.
That's why I dress in layers.
This is where she looks up from her head injury and is like, you are sort of beautiful. And he's like, how hard did you hit your head? And she's like, I don't know. Just take me with you wherever you're going.
Which is exactly what I would say if a woman said, you're sort of beautiful. I'd be like, oh, you're insane.
Yeah.
You
Your
definitely
head
hit
is
your head.
damaged.
Yeah.
I mean, as a Picasso, you know?
Oh, man. So we cut to school the next day where one of her friends is like, I saw a giant wolf in the woods. And everyone's like, no, you didn't. Crazy.
Are you sure it wasn't like a bunch of twinks?
I mean, depends on which woods. If we're talking Runyon Canyon, like, yes.
After we realized that they're werewolves and they keep saying there's bears in the woods, I was like, those aren't bears, dog. They're way too hairless to be bears.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're otters, I think, at that point.
That probably
Yeah.
is true. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this kind of piques Bella's interest because she's like, oh, no, I heard there are things in the woods, like my dad's looking for them. And so then she sits down and eats with him again. And this is where I think his name is Mike, is the friend.
The guy who asked her to the movie?
Yes, Mike.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, he doesn't matter, really.
The jock guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Mike.
So he asks her to go see that Love Spelled Backwards is Love. And she's like, no, face punch. I want all doves, all Nicolas Cage, face punch. So she invites everyone, which clearly he was like, let's go on a date. And she's like, cool, let's all go. Kind of the way that Todd went on dates in high school.
Yeah.
We've established that.
He just sits by girls with his hand open.
Oh, no.
I'm just over here like this.
To see Blair Witch Project.
That did happen in high school.
Yeah, multiple other guys there. And then we tracked her down when we did Blair Witch Project on Horror Virgin. And it turns out she did not consider it a date at all.
Mikey interviewed her.
Oh,
I interviewed her behind his back and we put it on the podcast.
Oh, no.
So if you want to hear me get really embarrassed, that's the Blair Witch Project on Horror Virgin. That's what that
Definitely do. 100% do.
It's terrible.
Yes.
Terrible.
He's like, it was a date. She knew. And I was like, did you at any point know that there was a date? 100% no.
So he is Mike, handheld open on armrest. I would be mad that they were taking the armrests personally.
Yes. I'd be like, shove off.
I'd be like, I have a Diet Coke and popcorn. Like, help me out. Like, what are we doing?
No, this is my popcorn. You have your popcorn. I just want you to hold it.
Jake and I rarely share popcorn, where we just have, gotten into the habit of like, if we're ordering something, be like, are you going to eat all of that? Or is this for us to share? And then usually we just order 2 of things and it's perfect.
Yeah, why fight?
Why fight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not worth it. Anyway, we cut to the movies. And she has also invited Jacob, who I think also thought it was a date.
These poor dudes, man.
He definitely did think it was a date, and I understand why he thought it was a date.
Yes.
I did think it was funny that when Mike is like talking to Jacob or whatever, and he's like, are you even old enough to see this movie? And I was like, you're looking up at him. He's taller than, shut up. Like, well, of course, it doesn't matter.
And he says, he's like, oh no, Bella's getting my ticket. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Because like, we've already discussed this. But like, he would have totally gotten away with it. No one would have been like, you look too young to do this.
Yeah.
He'd have been like, I have 7 abs. You can let me in, all right? How do you get the odd one?
Wolfen.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. But in the movie, they both hold out hands for her to hold. She like looks at it and she like looks at Jacob's and it's almost like she considers it for a second and then looks at Mike's and is like grossed out. It's a real kind of...
Well, in fairness to Mike, he's also about to throw up. So she might have been grossed out. Yeah.
He leaves to barf and Jacob is just like, what a marshmallow. And I was like,
That's a weird diss or whatever. And then he immediately is like, hey, while we're on this weird date, we should have a define the relationship conversation. I was like, Jacob, this is not the time for this.
Not the time, bro. Not now.
He's like, do you mind sitting on the mirror steps so we can have this talk?
Well, but first he tries to hold her hand as they do that. Yeah. And she like lets him for a second and then pulls it back and is like, I think you think this is different. And she's like, you're about to ruin everything because I need you and my emotional investment in you, which is pretty selfish to be like.
And she even says it is. I do feel like she recognizes what she is doing is bad, but is also sad and is going through some stuff. And is like, hey, I really need a friend right now. I don't need a romantic partner right now. And if that at least gives him the opportunity to be like, I can just be your friend. That's fine. Or I can't just be your friend. We should stop seeing each other. But this is like, I mentioned this earlier. He completely misses this. And
are you asking for communication between the two of them? Whoa! Because that's not what I signed up for.
He completely misses what she's saying. It's so sad. Like, but I know I did this all the time because I would be like, hey, we're all going to see the Blair Witch Project. Would you want to go with us? Sure, yeah, I'll go. Oh, cool, that's a date. And it totally wasn't a date. So like, I've made mistakes at this age too. I get it.
But this is also where he's like, I would never do what he did to you. Yeah. You can count on me.
Yeah, this is when he becomes Rick Astley. He's like, I'm never going to give you up, never going to let you down. That whole thing. Yeah.
So they send Mike. Mike shows up and he's like, I need to go home. I was feeling sick before the movie. I'm not doing well. Bye. But Jacob immediately is like, maybe you need to go to the hospital, almost like mad at him for interrupting him and Bella. But this is also where he's like, I don't feel like he's feverish and it's the wolfing has started, essentially.
Okay, I have a question. Is it moon-based or is it anger-based?
It's
anger-based.
Okay.
It's anger-based.
Okay, so they can just wolf out whenever they want.
So, again, I think this is something stolen from True Blood.
Yeah.
Because in True Blood, they can become wolves whenever they want.
Yeah.
But they specifically shift on the full moon and go run through the forest on the full moon.
Okay, so the full moon, they can't control it. They do change.
Well, they do it like communally. It's almost like they need to do it for their like self-care.
Yeah, I like to go out and hang out with my friends too. Yeah, just get naked and run through the woods together. That sounds like a marvelous time.
Hell yeah.
The shifters do it too. There's a lot of nudity in True Blood. Highly recommended if this is too boring for you.
If this movie is, not this episode.
No. Yeah, no, the Twilight.
Shut off this episode, put on True Blood.
Yeah. If you're like, I really wanted more wolf nudity and for her to eventually bone one, turn on True Blood. You're going to have to watch a couple seasons for it, but you will get to see her bone Alexander Skarsgård in the interim. So like, it's fine. So we get a montage of Bella trying to call him and everyone being like, he's sick, he has mono.
Yeah.
Like he can't talk to you. And her dad and Harry go out hunting for what they think are the bears. We will find out it's wolves. And she goes over to his house and he's like walking around shirtless and tatted in the rain. And she's just like, you cut your hair and got a tattoo. Like, what the fuck is happening? What did Sam do to you? And he's like, he's trying to help me. Don't blame him. Blame the Cullens. And he calls them bloodsuckers.
Yeah.
Basically being like, they're vampires. I know it. You know it. You've been lying to everybody about this.
When he said that, I was like, oh shit, Jacob knows about the Cullens. That was like a surprise to me.
Yeah. Well, and they kind of touch on it in this movie a little bit, but not a lot. But in the books, they go into it where werewolves only exist as a natural predator to vampires. So like when there's vampires in the area, that's when the gene kind of activates.
And ones that are doing bad. So that's why like they're the other vampires that are attacking and that are going after Bella. So they are only exist because there is a vampire threat.
Right.
Oh, wow. Okay. They only exist to act as okay, whatever. That's fine.
As a protector.
Yeah. Okay.
As protectors, or if you want to think about it as like keeping the ecosystem in check.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's also unclear when vampires are no longer in the area if that gene remains activated. Like if they are wolves for life or if they're wolves as long as they need them to be. And there's some debate there as well.
Okay.
Anyway, he's like, we can't be friends anymore. It's not you, it's me. I'm no good for you, Bella. Go away. Like
he literally just told her he was never going to do this to her.
Like
he
the
just
scene before
told
this.
her this.
Yeah.
well, he's like, I promised I wouldn't hurt you, and this is me not hurting you. So go home and don't come back or you're gonna get hurt. Which is like a threat. It's weird.
I do love that this is almost the exact same conversation she had with Edward. Like she gets broken up with twice in this movie.
Yeah, dude.
Mm-hmm. So she goes to that field of flowers where she first saw Edward's skin sparkle.
Yeah, she's like, oh, this is the saddest I've ever been in my life. I better have a forest little laydown.
Well, and all the flowers are dead because it's winter. Duh. But she runs into Laurent, who was part of the crew from the first movie.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, so the Cullens are gone, so you are alone and unprotected. So I'm going to go, like, I was going to go tell that lady, but I'm just going to kill you because, like, you're here, so why not?
And your blood is so hard to, like, not desire. It's such a weird...
She's very desired.
Yeah, it's so
very
weird.
Desired.
Mikey, you are muted again. This is the third episode this has happened where you have been muted.
Can you hear me now?
You're a beautiful idiot, and I fucking love you. What were you saying?
Okay. Sorry about that. No, she's got great blood. Great blood.
Oh, okay. I'm glad we waited for this.
Worth it. Hashtag worth it.
I tried to think of something better than I was actually saying in the time it took me to figure out what was wrong, but it didn't come. And just like
That's okay.
Edward,
That's all right.
I didn't want you to come.
Well, don't worry. He ain't coming anytime soon. I'll tell you what.
He hasn't come in 109 years or whatever.
9 years.
I wondered why you guys weren't responding to what I was saying, but it said I was not muted.
Oh, I think you've been muted for a while.
Honey, babe.
Oh, I feel bad.
It's since I dropped this computer off a car. It's been
He did, Jackie.
What? Off of a car?
Yeah.
Yeah, on the top of it. And like,
that's rough.
Okay,
that's
it's
rough.
better than that. So Mikey works as a crisis counselor, so he rides in police cars to help when people have mental health crises, right? So he put it on top of a police car, so it hit the lights and the sirens on the way down.
They were
and
on,
then clattered
so-
down the street.
Oh,
It had a case.
no.
so it still works. We got it.
It just mutes sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just something I don't want to be a computer. I get
No
it.
problem. It's not like you have a thing that you do where people need to hear you.
Need to hear you.
I talk too much anyway.
It's saving you from yourself, so you should thank the computer.
I'm paid to listen.
Anyway, I think this is also something stolen from True Blood, where it's also the same thing where, so Bella has like, people can't hear her thoughts, and we'll find out why in book 4, like what her immortal power turns out to be. But in True Blood, Sookie can hear everybody's thoughts. She just can't hear vampires. But part of the reason her blood is irresistible is because she's Fae. So like,
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
there's not a good reason for Bella to be irresistible to everybody, but
And I thought that none of them could like read her mind because she didn't have anything going on up there. She just like wasn't thinking anything.
it's just like vampire, vampire, vampire,
Yeah,
vampire,
exactly.
vampire.
Exactly.
Anyway, before Laurent can attack her, wolves come out of the woods and attack him and take after him. And they're huge.
Yeah.
Like, the scale of the wolves in the movies changes a little bit.
Certainly does.
Like, back and forth. But in this one, they're massive. In the next one, not
And
as
the
much.
CGI is better in this one than in the first one with like the
Yes.
running and everything. I will say
Yeah.
they bumped up their game a little bit for the second one.
Not
Yes.
great still.
No,
It's still
it's not great.
But this was also 2009, right? Like it.
It's literally only a year after the last one.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
2009. So like it's fine for that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Bella runs away. She gets back to her house and she's like, oh my God, Dad, it's not bears, it's giant wolves. And you watch as Harry Clearwater's like, oh shit, she saw the wolves. Like,
Yeah.
fuck. And so he and Charlie are like, let's go hunt the wolves. And he's clearly like throwing Charlie off the scent. Like he's covering the wolf tracks because he knows that they're following Victoria, right?
Yeah.
So we cut to Bella having bad dreams about Victoria. She wakes up to Jacob throwing rocks at her window, where he then parkours up into her room.
When he gets up, and he's shirtless, obviously, and when he gets up into her room, like after hardcore parkouring into her room, she takes like a good 20 seconds to like soak in his body before she speaks.
How could you
Yeah.
not?
She even like puts her hand on the Hawaiian rolls. She's like, ooh,
Yeah.
they're steamy.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, what were you saying? Because she was like out of it.
Yeah.
Well, and he like full body hugs her.
Yeah, and we all as a generation watched Clarissa Explains It All. We all
Yes.
wanted a hunky man to come up through
Always.
our window. We saw it in Scream. These are the things that we've always wanted. And to watch Jacob pounce up the side of the fucking house to come and talk to me, I die.
Yes.
And she
yes,
does.
he is the epitome. He's the perfect Sam.
But in real life, you would straight up be arrested like immediately.
I don't think you would. I snuck out and into some people's rooms when I was this age.
Yeah, but usually you have like consent before you show up.
Yeah, but she says he can come in. I mean, it's not like a
Yeah.
it's not like a big deal.
I think if the cops showed up, Bella would be like, I didn't call you, so why are you here?
The cops are already there. They're her dad.
Oh, that's
well,
right.
he's out hunting the wolves or looking for the wolves, right? Yeah.
Right.
So they have the house to themselves. You know what I'm saying?
I'm telling you, like, there's so many parts of this movie, and this is one of them too, where like he's like, remember what I told you about the old ones, and like the thing, and she doesn't fully remember the story, but she will shortly.
I don't understand why he can't just tell her. Why can't he just be like, I'm just a werewolf looking for my Bella? I don't understand why he can't like just tell her.
It's rules from the alpha.
Yeah, rules from the alpha.
That's
You can't
so
disobey
dumb.
rules from the alpha. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they can all hear each other talking, so
Yes.
it's not even like he can like
Wait,
get
what?
like sniff his way
Wait,
around it. All
I'm
the
sorry.
wolves hear each other.
Yeah.
They have, hang on. They have Wolfie talkie?
Nah, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Jackie.
I thought they did it in this one, but they don't. It's the next one. They do mention it in this one, but there's a scene in the next one where they're
Holy
like
shit.
standing in a circle just looking at each other because they're just wolves, so they can't make their mouths move. The CGI is not good enough for it, and you're just hearing the voices, and it'll just cut to whatever wolf is speaking because it's just wolf telepathy, and it's one of the funniest parts of the series.
Okay, I thought in my mind it was like whenever you see like Secret Service talking, they put like their hand to their ear or whatever. I wanted it to be like a
Yes.
paw to the wolf like ear, like red team go.
No.
No.
This movie is equally crazy. Like I do feel like that would be in place in this movie. Like it would make as much sense.
Yes. So he kind of gives her this full hug, and then as he pulls back, he's about to kiss her. 100%.
Yeah. And he looks like the only person in this movie that has a chance to kiss somebody that actually wants to do it.
Yeah. So he leaves. She has a dream where she wakes up in the forest and remembers the story.
Yeah.
So she shows up at his house the next day, and his dad answers, and he's like, he's not here. And she's like, bullshit. I know he's a wolf, whatever. So she walks in. She sees the other wolves coming through his window. So she runs outside
She's not special.
and is just like, what did you do to him? Like, what is happening? And
So many jorts.
Oh yeah. It's a very Jort heavy scene.
so many jorts, all jorts. And he shifts in front of her. So she runs and is trying to get Jacob to run. And then he shifts to basically fight. I think it's Embry. No, it's Paul. They end up fighting.
When he jumps over her and like transitions in front of like over her, that made me laugh. I was like, because his
You
pants
see him
like
phase on the fly like that?
well, it's just crazy because he jumps in the air and his like clothes turn into tatters and just fall as like he's going over her. I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I guess we're doing it.
Yeah.
I just hate that they couldn't show them all nude, like, or at least imply that they were nude. You didn't have to show the jorts; just show them from the
Yeah.
waist up.
Oh yeah, they could have shot it in a way where it was implied for sure.
Yes.
Or think about this. they could have had collars and they could have been made out of jeans. Like they could have, like when they shifted, it'd just be like a Jorts collar.
A Jorts collar.
That would be like if it was like a werewolf Fast and the Furious. It would be shit like that. Like, and everyone has their own collar.
I'm sorry. Did you just describe a franchise I didn't know I wanted, but now I
But I want them driving as wolves.
Which one's Vin Dogsel?
It's all about the pack.
Fuck, if they make a Fast and the Furious dog movie called The Pack, I'm watching it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Of course. Anyway, so now she knows. And so they take her over to Emily's house. So Sam and Emily are married, but it's because Sam imprinted on her.
Is that what it's called when you scratch the fuck out of someone's face in a domestic abuse incident?
So it's not, and you find out later it's not a domestic abuse incident per se. Because you find out in...
He's not like other werewolves, Mikey. You
No,
wouldn't get
no.
it. All of my CDs are in his truck. I can't leave him.
Depending on state law, if they're visible injuries, they have to arrest for domestic violence.
Well, so what happens was he was the first person to turn into a wolf, so he didn't know what was going on. And the elders kind of knew about it, but didn't know how to like help him through it. So that's why he kind of forms the like crew that he has, right?
Right.
And I believe he was actually trying to either save her or defend her. I don't remember very clearly, but he phased too close to her. And so it wasn't like he attacked her. She was standing too close when he turned and didn't know what was happening. And that's what happened.
This is what would have happened to Bruce Wayne's parents if Bruce Wayne's dad didn't know he was a werewolf and turned when, I get that. Yeah. They were too close. He started to phase. He stumbled on the pearl necklace that fell on the ground and scratched her on his way falling down. That makes sense.
And it's like he feels terrible about it. It's like there's a whole extra plot of stuff in like 3 and 4 about the different wolves and who pairs off with who. And the one really interesting one, I don't remember them doing a ton with it in the movie, but there is a woman who's a wolf and she's the only one. And they're like, we don't even know what to do. This has never really happened before. And so she has this really interesting, like, who am I? Why am I this way? Like, where do I fit into this pack? Which is actually really interesting that, you know, it's the one interesting thing that Stephanie Meyer does.
I know. I always like have screamed, I want a whole book about that perspective.
Yes.
That's Leah Clearwater, right?
Leah Clearwater. Yeah. Harry's daughter.
Is that the one with the scars?
No, that's Emily. Emily's not a wolf.
She's a wife. Thank you, Jackie.
I just feel like it's an intro to like a reality show. It's like, I'm not just a wolf wife.
I'm a wife.
I'm a wife.
Welcome back to season 1 of Werewife.
I would watch the fuck out of that.
I would watch the shit out of that too. And I'd watch the sequel, When Wife.
Ooh.
And why wife? Great.
Season 4, How Wife gets real weird.
Yeah. But I think it's book 4 where you start to meet all the other wives, the other imprints, basically. And then Leah has this like really interesting story of like, if I'm a wolf, like if I'm the wolf, do I imprint on someone? Why won't anyone imprint on me? And it's like so humanizing. And then they just like, it's like falls by the wayside by the end of the book. But it was like the one cool thing that she did. So she knows, now everyone knows she knows, and she goes out to talk with Jacob, and he's like, it is what it is. It's because of the vampires. Like, we're not killing people. Victoria's killing people. That's why we're hunting her.
Yeah.
And then this is where we basically find out, we cut to the woods where they're hunting her, and Harry Clearwater ends up dying of a heart attack because she kind of attacks him.
Yeah, I mean, he gets thrown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the few bits of action in this movie, and I wish there were more of it.
Yeah.
Because really, at this point, it's an hour and a half of just her being like,
I'm
October,
sad.
November, December. Yeah.
That is what winter feels like, though.
oh.
You should get a lamp, dude.
Sorry, I live in LA, so I forget that the winter
What's
exists.
winter?
I was like, we should just move to LA. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, like,
Okay. So he's off looking for Victoria. So she's like lonely and decides to cliff dive about it.
we've all been there.
We've all been there. We see Victoria cliff dive and make it, and then Bella does. And it's implied that Jacob dove after Victoria. That's why he's already in the water. But he pulls Bella out of the water.
Yeah.
She does see Edward floating near her, but he pulls her out, gives her CPR. And he gets her home, and when they're at her house, they realize that Alice is there.
Yeah. And they have the craziest conversation as she's running up to the door. She's like, Jacob's like, I can't protect you here because of some alliance or treaty or whatever.
It's a treaty.
And she's like, well, you don't have to protect me. It's cool. Like, I know them. They're fine with me. And then he's like, but I can't protect you. And she's like, I don't
need your protection.
I'm like, you're listening to 0% of the things she's saying to you. It's insane.
She says, I never use protection.
Whoa.
We will do it, doggy. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think he was still reeling because this is where they cuddle in the car because he's warm.
He's trying to hide the boner. Yeah, I've done that. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I think he was just like, what? No blood in brain, all blood in downstairs brain. And so
and the steroids.
Steroids.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So she goes in to talk to Alice, and Alice is like, what's happening? And Alice is like, how are you still alive? And she's like, oh, like Jacob saved me. And she realizes that she can't see anything that the wolves are doing.
Yeah.
Because they can't read their minds when they're in wolf form.
Yeah, she has a werewolf blind spot.
Yes, and it is only when they're in wolf form. When they're in people, like, you can hear them, which becomes a thing because, like, when Jacob gets really petty in the later books, he'll just turn into a werewolf and run away because he knows nobody can hear him.
That's how I would do it. I mean, for
oh
sure.
my God.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a bitch move, though. Like,
But also the freedom of being a werewolf.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
I don't want you to hear my thoughts. They're mean.
Yeah.
I'm protecting you.
Right. So she then reveals that, like, I didn't tell Edward I came to check on you because Edward has only been checking in every couple months, but I'll give you a minute, like, with Jacob to figure your shit out.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back in. So Jacob is talking to her in the kitchen. And this is very much a like, is Edward coming back? No. So we're still a thing, right? Because we were like...
about to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes in for a kiss. And they're like... she's about to kiss him back, like 100.
Mm-hmm.
And the phone rings and it's Edward. And he just says, he's not here right now. He's arranging a funeral, and hangs up, which is not a lie.
No, but he is playing the apothecary in that moment. That's what that is.
Yes, and how dare he answer my fucking telephone?
I wrote that. I was like, why the hell would Jacob be answering my phone? What
Don't
the
answer
fuck?
my phone.
Yeah. I thought it was because he was closer, but sure.
It's your ex-boyfriend. He's going to kill himself.
And Jacob knows he's the side piece.
Yeah.
Like, he knows. That's why he answered the phone. He's petty, and he's the side piece. I've been there.
He's messy.
I've been there.
He's messy. But we find out that it was Edward. And now Edward believes that Bella is dead.
Oh, yeah.
Because he can read Alice's thoughts. So he saw what Alice saw, and then Alice went to confirm, and now he thinks that he's dead.
He saw what Alice saw up until the point they come home together.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So Alice runs in, and she's like, he's going to go to the Volturi because he wants to die too. We've got to get to Italy. Grab your passport. Let's go.
It's so unattractive. If someone's like, oh, like if I'm trying to like do my own thing, you left, and now you're upset with me because I'm hanging with somebody else, so you're going to go kill yourself now?
Right.
Not attractive. Don't want it. Don't want anything to do with it.
She does it to his ghost. He does it to her actual self.
Yes.
Yes. It's bad. So he goes to the Volturi to ask to die. And Michael Sheen's like, no, your gifts are too cool. We're not going to kill you. So he then is going to walk out into the sun. So
Yeah, he's going to force their hand, more or less.
yeah. So Alice and Bella roll up in a stolen car. She has to run to meet him under the clock tower.
She's like, quick, go run through Handmaid's Tale and find him.
And then I was like, why isn't his sister Alice running at vampire speed to go stop him?
Because he'd see her coming.
They do explain that away. Yeah, I actually thought that was like a decent explanation for it. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But also, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly in the book, there's this awesome like car chase scene of her trying, and like, why didn't they include that part in the movie? Because it would have looked really cool of Alice like speed chasing, and she's in like a Maserati or something.
Yes.
That, like, why don't they show that in the movie instead of just the montage of her wailing and in the night?
Yeah, I know. Well, and it's like to the airport. they like speed through Forks to get to the airport, and then they get to Italy, and she's just like, hold on to your butts, like, let's go.
And she stole like a Porsche or some shit. It might have been a Maserati. You might be right. Yeah.
It is a Maserati. It's either a Maserati or a Ferrari. It's one of the two, but it's like a supercar, basically.
Yeah.
So she tackles Edward, and he's like, oh my God, you're not dead. Great. I don't want to die now either. Let's get back together. Like, I forgot the reasons I broke up with you in the first place, basically.
Yeah.
So they kind of kiss, but it's still awkward. Anytime they kiss, it's weird in this movie. But the Volturi call them in for an audience. And this is where they kind of establish that they can't hear Bella's thoughts either.
Right.
And that none of their gifts work on her. And that'll kind of come in book 4 when she gets her vampire powers, basically. But they essentially make him and Alice agree to turn her in time for their next visit to Forks, when they come to visit Carlisle, because she knows too much.
Yeah.
So they're like, either you turn her or we kill her, essentially. So
I also was really sad because in the movie, they don't make Jane scary enough. Because in the books, Jane is very scary.
Really?
And like, it means something when Jane shows up because she's got like, you know, like she essentially can like, not Avada Kedavra. What's the other one where like you could, like the crustacean, the Cruciatus curse. Then it's like one of those. Like that's what she could do with her brain. You know, so she could do. So she's a very scary character in the book, and in the movies, it's just like I don't know. They didn't write her scary enough.
She's barely in it, and in the books, she is a child, basically, kind of like Claudia in Interview with the Vampire, where like. She looks unassuming, and they just kind of like drag her with them. And then in the book, she just says pain. And it just like.
She does it once in the movie.
Yeah, she does it once. And then in book 4, when they kind of come back, she doesn't use it hardly at all. She's barely in it. It's really a bummer because like in the book, that's the one everyone's scared of is her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're setting up like I think a good big bad. And I guess that never pays off.
It never pays off. And they don't even use Bella's gift in book 4, and it is arguably one of the cooler ones where I'll spoil this, whatever, it doesn't come into the movie. In the book, Bella's gift is that she can create force fields.
Okay.
So that's why people can't use their gifts on her. It's like she blocks it.
Like you look so upset, hands to the head, just like Jesus Christ.
That is exactly how I felt. Yeah.
She creates protection force fields,
protection. And so she has to create a force field big enough to protect people from Jane so that they can kill enough people before Jane can get to them. Like, that is what it is. And then the movie just disregards it completely.
I hate it. All right.
I hate it.
Anyway, so she goes home. She has a scream nightmare, but Edward is there.
Yeah.
And we also find out that Charlie doesn't want Edward around anymore.
No, he broke his daughter's heart. Like, I sort of get that. Like,
yeah. So she tells him, like, you got to change me, and I'll wait until after high school. That's fine, but you got to change me. And in the book, he wants her to go to college and a bunch of other stuff, and she's like, no.
He's like, someone's got to get a job.
Career vampire.
Like, yeah.
But she goes to the Cullens and is like, let's let everyone vote. Everyone votes yes, except for Rosalie, which is also a really interesting backstory point that they don't cover enough in the movie.
I want that book as well. Her backstory is genuinely heartbreaking and very upsetting. She didn't want to be a vampire. She doesn't want this life.
She
at
doesn't
all.
like being a vampire.
No.
Yeah,
she just wanted to have babies.
Yes.
Oh, I really love that she like says, I wish that someone had been there to vote no for me. Like, I love that point of view of it. I thought that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was because she knows everyone else is going to vote yes, but she still voices it. And in book 4 and a little bit in the movie, she really kind of, before Bella turns, still kind of tries to intercede and be like, maybe this is not a good idea.
Yeah.
And it has some problematic beliefs in book 4.
Well,
not because old, but because like she is acting out of her own trauma as opposed to realizing what is actually happening to Bella.
Yes.
But fascinating backstory that does not get enough in the movie. All the good shit gets cut out.
But in the scene, it's shot like Edward's behind her as she's asking them to vote. And maybe it's just because he's like in soft focus. He's not like in focus. In my mind, he was like giving them the look like, guys, I was just about to break up with her again. Please don't vote to change her.
Anyway, they vote yes, but they agreed to do it later, like not right this second.
at the end of the school year.
Yeah, for graduation.
For graduation.
Yeah, it's a graduation gift.
Yeah, graduation gift. So they go back to her house where they run into Jacob, who's like, I don't know if you forgot, but if you bite a human, the treaty is off and we are at war. And she's like, but I want to be one of them. And he's like, nope.
He's like, I don't care. You're a woman and not allowed to have agency in Stephanie Meyer's books.
Yes, bring that Mormonism to life.
You belong in Relief Society, ma'am. Sorry, Mormons are laughing at that joke. Well, ex-Mormons are laughing at that joke.
Well, 'cause that's the lady version is Relief Society. Yeah.
Yes.
So he basically is like, you don't become one of them. This is fucked up. She's like, don't make me choose between you. And he's like, you did. Like, she's like, it's Edward. I chose. Yeah. And he's like, fuck that. I'm going to run away or whatever. But then Edward is...
That's just like a 16-year-old. That's exactly what I would do. Just like a 16-year-old.
Yeah. And Edward is like, I've got one condition. Like, I will turn you. If you want me to do it, you have to marry me.
Yes.
And that's the movie.
Yay.
I couldn't believe it when it happened. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what do you guys think about New Moon?
I hate this whole franchise.
Same, Mikey. This movie wasn't even super fun to watch because it's so slow. There are sections that are like super bonkers and are fun because it's like crazy shit. But like, it's such a slog to get to those moments.
Yes.
I mean, I'm glad we've done this one so we can do the more bonkers ones later on. But like, I did not enjoy this watching experience.
It's the worst book. It's the worst movie. It really is. It is. Yeah. It's the worst one.
I find that so easy to believe. Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like I barely remember the third one. I may have not seen the third one since I saw it in theaters. 4 is nuts. Like, I can't wait for us to get to 4 because it's so crazy.
I sort of can't wait to do the next ones because of this.
The fourth one is why I have a Forks tattoo. It's like, it's what made me fall in love with Twilight is because it becomes so batshit.
So
Am I going to get a Forks tattoo, Jackie?
You want to join me?
I think you'll end up screaming a lot in that episode.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, yes. But also, I still hate all of this.
Absolutely.
So does my husband, and I promised I would only get one Twilight tattoo. He's like, I love you. He's like, I will never tell you what you can and cannot do with your body. However, could I just please ask that maybe only one Twilight tattoo? I was like, yes, okay, that I can do. I can do
Such
that.
a good, nice, healthy way to ask that.
So, Jackie, thank you so much for joining us once again as we continued our Twilight saga. We appreciate you being here.
Yes,
thank you guys so much for having me. I am always down to talk about Twilight whenever you force Todd and Mikey to watch more Twilight. I am here for you. Paige, I know we ain't getting forced to do nothing. So I'll talk about it anytime you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, please do come back for the continuing saga as we do 3 and 4.
We'll give you guys some breathing room. 4 is 2 movies.
Paige is like, we get to do New Moon. I was like, cool.
So, Jackie, would you mind telling us where our listeners can find more of you and the great stuff that you do?
Please check me out over on the Last Podcast Network. I do a show called Page 7, and starting February 14th, my sister-in-law and I are doing a full deep dive season 2 from LPN on A Court of Thorns and Roses. So that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, where we are going to be doing 15 episodes of deep dives into A Court of Thorns and Roses, which is a literotica series that I have been absolutely obsessed with, and I turn everything I do into work. So come listen to it, because it is horny as fuck, it is violent as fuck, and it's great.
When you said literotica,
I need to read
Paige's
this
face
now.
got so interested. I
Dude,
saw it.
Paige.
Yes.
Get through the first book.
Okay.
The last third of the first book is where it takes off. And then the next 4 books is just like, and it's written by a woman, and it is like definitely sex scenes written with women in mind specifically, and it
Love
is
that.
all of the women I know have read it, and they are all just like over fucking fairies, dude. It's great.
Hell yes. Okay, like, 'cause I'll go to Ripped Bodice and see if they've got it and snag them all.
Become a part of the High Fae.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much, Jackie. We really appreciate it.
Yes,
Love you guys. Thank you so much.
So, Paige, you have some fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, here it is with your fun facts. New
Vampire
Moon
fun facts. I gotta tell you, the fun facts about these movies are so boring because they're like it made this much at the box office. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. We're gonna talk about that. Like, tell me the weird shit. Tell me about the time that like somebody accidentally stabbed a guy. Like, what are we doing? So anyway, these are the most interesting fun facts I could find. There are some gems, but not as many as you would think normally for a movie. The movie premiered on November 16th, 2009, which was a new moon.
Oh, wow.
I think New Moon is a blank sky, which makes it even weirder of a title.
It's weird. Well, it's all they're all like eclipse, new moon.
Yeah.
Blah. I think she only called it new moon because of like wolf.
I studied the lunar cycle in 4th grade, okay? And I think I remember that New Moon is blank.
Mikey, you are correct.
Yes!
I just looked it up.
So when Michael Sheen was cast as Aro, he had no clue who the character was or what they were about.
Well, I mean, in all fairness, I watched this whole movie and I have those same questions.
Who's Aro?
He is the vampire pope.
Yeah, basically.
Oh, I do love Michael Sheen, though.
Me too. Michael Sheen's the best.
He only took this job because his daughter was a fan of the books.
I would have taken it for the money, but he's been a working actor for a while. He probably didn't need it. Yeah.
Yeah. So throughout the Twilight series, Kristen Stewart had to wear brown contact lenses to match Bella's eyes, which, by the way, I think is pretty dumb. Just let people have different colored eyes. Like the fact that people were like, she was supposed to have brown eyes is really crazy to me.
Well, yeah. What is she, a Jim Morrison song? Get over it, guys. God.
I get that one.
Nice.
In some scenes, when it was raining, she had to remove them because of the rain. And because rain kept falling into her lenses and she wasn't able to see. So they had to digitally alter her eyes for the film.
So I actually knew this because some of the programs that I use in Premiere to like do After Effects on production work, the company that I use it for, that was their first job.
Oh, shit.
And now they've gone on to make other software like that. And I happen to use some of it in the stuff that I do every day.
So each member of the Wolf Pack, in order to audition and participate in the film, had to provide proof of native descent.
Okay.
Chasky Spencer is Lakota Sioux. Bronson Peltier is Cree Metis. Alex Meraz is Purepecha or Tarasco. And Kiowa Gordon is Hualapai. Tyson Houseman, who they found at open casting, is Cree.
Okay.
So Taylor Lautner has stated in some interviews that he has distant Native American ancestry, specifically Ottawa and Potawatomi, through his mother.
Okay.
So he also provided some proof as well.
Cool.
Yeah. Before Jacob almost kisses Bella, he says, Kwap Kilataule, which, and I am probably butchering that. I apologize. Spelled KWOPKILAWTLEY. But it means stay with me forever in Quileute, which is the local tribe that they are, again, using all of their stuff without giving them anything in return. When Carlisle is cleaning Bella's wounds after the party, and he burns the blood-soaked gauze.
Yeah.
It forms the flower that's on the New Moon book cover.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are the most fun facts.
These were the most fun facts.
The
Mikey.
most fun facts.
I have a fun fact.
Oh, yeah?
Sure.
Taylor Lautner dated Taylor Swift.
That is true. He also, and I mentioned this during the episode, almost didn't come back for this one because they didn't think he'd be able to be big enough in time, but did gain 26 pounds of muscle. They had actually already planned who they were going to replace him with, an actor named Michael Copon, and he was literally on hand to replace him if that's what they decided to do. He's gone on to have a different career as well and do all of his own stuff, but he was almost replacing, and they do look alike, but not like they're definitely still different people, but I can see why they kind of looked at him as an option.
Sure.
They have pretty similar facial features, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
This movie was greenlit one day after the first Twilight movie opened in cinemas because it made so much money that first weekend that they were like, back up the money truck, let's go.
That's so crazy. Like the fact that these movies made as much money as they did will always blow my mind.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me at all. This is like teen girls. Like this makes
It's
sense
not even
to
teen
me.
girls. I was in
college and I was at the movie theater.
Yeah.
Girls in their 20s had like cardboard cutouts of all of this stuff. Like it was
Well, and this is
bonkers.
terrible because girls in their 20s, I think, are looking at the two guys in this movie like, I would do filthy things to that
this
guy.
16-year-old.
He's not 16 in real life, whatever. So during the argument in Bella's truck where Edward and Bella are arguing, they had gotten notes from the first movie about how the fast running looked really fake, which it did.
Yeah, because it did.
And so what they did in this one for one of the scenes is they actually have a body double get out of the truck and then have Robert Pattinson come from behind the camera. So it looks like he's just instantly like almost teleported.
Yeah.
Oh, I like
But
that.
it was a cleaner cut than actually doing the fast running. So when Taylor Lautner lifts the motorbike out of the back of the truck, he was holding the bike up while wires on a crane held it and they were removed digitally.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Every song in this film was written specifically for this film.
Oh, I hate everything about that fact so much. Oh, you mean so it's like City of Angels?
Yeah.
but not as good.
Yeah. The
No.
town of Cinque Terre in Italy, which is the town of Volterra in the movie, was chosen because of its uncanny resemblance to the Italian town described in Stephanie Meyer's novel. Now, when I read this, I had been to Assisi, and I thought she was describing Assisi because it also resembles it very closely. But the difference between the two and between the one that she describes and what they used is that it didn't have a giant fountain. So they just like showed up at this town, put a bunch of people in like Handmaid's Tale robes, and built a giant fountain out of plywood in the middle of the square. So
It looks like a plywood fountain, actually.
it does. The scene where Bella is sinking into the depths was achieved by putting weights in Kristen Stewart's pockets and letting her sink in a swimming pool.
Yeah.
She was apprehensive about it. So the director was like, I'll do it. Because, never make somebody do a stunt you wouldn't willingly, do or whatever.
Absolutely.
And so he got in the pool with the weights, and as soon as he hit the bottom, he freaked out, pulled the weights out of his pockets, and then swam to the surface saying, "We can't do that to Kristen. We can't do it." So instead, they filmed her from the side and moved the camera backwards to achieve the effect of sinking.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yep. And those are your fun facts.
Well, thank you for those fun facts, Paige. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So as Paige mentioned, this movie did come out in 2009. What do you think the production budget was when they greenlit this movie the day after the first one came out?
I want to say this cost them $40K. No, not $40K, $40 million.
Right.
$40 million.
40 million, obviously, yes. Mikey, what do you think?
45.
Mikey, you are closer. It was an even $50 million. And if you adjust that for inflation, that is roughly $68.2 million today. Now, the movie, as Paige did say, it premiered on November 20th, 2009, and it was the #1 movie the weekend it came out. It beat the #2 movie, The Blind Side. #3 was 2012. #4 was Planet 51. And #5 was a re-release, I think, of Disney's A Christmas Carol.
Oh.
Unless that they did a new one at some point.
No, there was a Jim Carrey
That was
version.
Jim Carrey, yeah. So this
Okay,
is,
yeah.
and this is the Jim Carrey version. You're right, Mikey. Yeah. But either way, Twilight crushed it that weekend. What do you think it made in its opening weekend?
22 million.
So, Mikey, you think 22 million?
No, I think more. I think like 45 million, 50 million.
Okay, you think it made its budget back the first weekend?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm going to say 65.
Okay. All right. So, guys, you are both under half of what it made in its opening weekend.
Oh, my
It
God.
made $142.8 million
Jeez, we've not been that far off
Jeez.
in so long.
in its opening weekend. This movie made money. It was in the box office for a total of 19 weeks domestically. So it started November of 2009 and ended its run in March of the following year. But what do you think it made domestically at the box office?
300 million.
Yeah, I was going to say these made so much fucking money.
Yeah, and this is just domestically.
Just domestically, I'm going to say 180.
Okay, Mikey was close. It was $296.6 million
Jeez.
just domestically. It made another $390.9 million internationally. Guys, for a total of $687.5 million. If you adjust that for inflation to today's dollars, it's almost $1 billion. It's $937.9 million today.
Wow.
Yeah. This movie made tons of money, and I am furious about it. But that is your box office. So this week, I guess Jackie made us watch Twilight New Moon.
True.
And I think, Paige, if we continue the order, it's your turn next. So what are you going to make us watch next week?
Oh, God, I forgot that it was my turn. Hold up.
Oh, wait, should we officially do we think they're still together?
No, we can't do that because there's too many sequels.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they are. Unfortunately, we know that they are.
Let's do the romance scale.
The romance scale 1 to 10, how romantic we found this film. I guess I'll go first. Negative. No, I'm giving it a 1.
Yeah, I'm going to give it a 1 as well. Nothing is romantic in this movie.
I'm going to say that I think if this was a lust scale, not a love scale, I give Jacob some points. But because everything in this is toxic and terrible, I'm going to go negative as well.
So is that a 1?
Yeah, I guess it's a fucking 1.
Okay.
Todd?
I'm giving it a 1 as well. Yeah, that's what I said.
Okay, and that's the romance scale.
So this week, I guess Jackie made us watch New Moon. What are you making us watch next week, Paige, as I believe we continue your turn?
We're going to do 2014's About Last Night.
Okay. I actually don't think I've seen this.
Okay.
So there is a 1986 version. You mean the 2014 version with Kevin Hart?
Yes. I mean the 2014 version with Kevin Hart, which is everywhere. It's on a million things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a remake of the 1986 version, apparently, from what I read.
It is, but I remember seeing this one in theaters and actually finding it very, very funny and very enjoyable. So,
well,
yes.
Cool. So your homework next week is to get wine drunk and watch About Last Night from 2014.
Yes.
So, Mikey, do you have a review for us to read?
Not yet, Todd.
Well, while you're looking one up, let me tell them how they can have their review read on the podcast, and then us to leave us a 5-star text review. So, Mikey, whose review are you going to read this week? Hit me with that review. 5-star review.
I'm going to read BGecko61's review entitled Y'all Should Know.
Well, what does BGecko61 have to say?
Oreos makes gluten-free double stuffed Oreos 5 stars.
This is very good information. This is a good thing to know.
I've had them. They're really good, actually. I just love that Oreos is like doing a viral marketing campaign on people's reviews, apparently.
It is interesting, yeah.
Did we talk about Oreos or gluten-free Oreos?
I don't remember enough.
I don't remember either. Okay. Well, I'm assuming we did, but B. Gecko, thanks so much for the hot Oreo tip. We appreciate it. And if you want to have Mikey read your hot grocery store tip or a review, leave us a 5-star review. So, yeah, guys, if you like this power throuple that we have here on this podcast, make sure to check out our other podcast, The Horror Virgin, and that is the only other podcast that Mikey and I are on, but Paige gets around, and she is on 2 other podcasts, Black Card Rehab and Cult Podcast. So guys, definitely check out those because they're amazing. If you want to follow us on social, we are at Romancing the Pod Show.
Yes.
On Instagram, and we are at something else on Twitter who I just have never taken the time to learn
It's just Romancing Pod Show because they have a character limit and it's show SHO like Showtime.
So guys, check that out as well. And if you want to follow us all individually, Paige is at Rampage Wesley everywhere, including TikTok, except for Twitter, where she is at Paige Wesley. Mikey is at mrandolph24, and I am at Todd J Awesome everywhere. And guys, we got a P.O. box. So if you want to send us some love letters or whatever you might send to a P.O. box, it's actually not a P.O. box. It's like a regular street address. It's pretty awesome. It's 6688 Nolensville Road, number 108-34, Brentwood, Tennessee 37027. So send us some stuff.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
I'm Mikey.
And I'm Todd.
And you complete us.
To completion.
I just want to jump off a cliff until you notice me.
Oh, no. Bye, New Moon nerds.
La, 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 la.